They didn't beat him, didn't curse him, didn't even hate him. They just forgot he existed. Same house, same bloodline. And that cold, quiet, absolutely devastating neglect is what turned Naruto Uzumaki into something that erased a mountain and chained the 9 tails before breakfast. God-tier damage starts young.
Here is the thing about being forgotten. It does not happen all at once. It is not a single moment where the people who are supposed to love you look at you and decide you are nothing. It is slower than that. It is quieter. It is 1,000 small moments stacked on top of each other like stones on a grave. And by the time you realize you are buried, the people holding the shovels have already gone inside for dinner. Naruto Uzumaki was 7 years old, the first time he understood that his parents had 3 children, but only loved 2 of them. It was October 10th, his birthday. Also the anniversary of the 9 Tails attack on Konogakure, which meant it was also the anniversary of the day his father, Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage, the Yellow Flash, the most celebrated ninja in the history of the Leaf Village, sealed the most powerful tailed beast in existence into the gut of his youngest son, Menma. The village threw a festival every year. Fireworks, lanterns, food stalls, speeches about sacrifice and heroism. And every year, at the center of it, standing on a stage built just for him, was Menma Namikaze. Golden-haired, blue-eyed, grinning like the sun, waving at a crowd that worshipped the ground he walked on, because inside his belly was a monster that could level mountains. And somehow that made him a hero. Naruto watched from the rooftop of a building 3 blocks away. He watched his mother, Kushina Uzumaki, kneel down and adjust Menma's collar. He watched her smile. That specific smile, the one that started in her eyes and spread across her whole face, the one that said, "You are the most important thing in my world." He watched his father put a hand on Menma's shoulder and lean down to whisper something that made the boy laugh. Then he watched his sister, Mito, run up in a new dress, red, expensive, with the Uzumaki spiral embroidered on the back, and Kushina scooped her up and spun her around and kissed her forehead. Naruto sat on the rooftop and ate a rice ball he had made himself because no one had made him dinner. It was his birthday, too. No one remembered. Now, before we go any further, let me be clear about something. Minato and Kushina were not villains. They were not cruel. They did not beat Naruto. They did not lock him in a closet. They did not starve him or curse him or tell him he was worthless. What they did was worse than all of that, because what they did was nothing. They simply did not see him. He existed in their peripheral vision, a shape in the hallway, a door closing somewhere upstairs, a plate in the sink that someone must have used. He was background noise in a house full of music. Menma had private training sessions with Minato 3 times a week. Mito had tea ceremonies with Kushina every Sunday. Naruto had a room at the end of the hall with a window that did not close properly. And in the winter, the wind came through, and he slept in 2 blankets because he did not want to ask for a third. He never asked for anything. That was the thing about Naruto Uzumaki that nobody noticed, because nobody was looking. He never asked. He never cried. He never threw a tantrum. He never broke something to get attention. He never acted out at the academy. He never screamed or begged or made a scene. He just watched, and he learned. By the time he was 6, he had read every scroll in Minato's study. Not the classified ones. Those were sealed behind barriers that would have alerted the Anbu. But the general library, the theory texts, the chakra manipulation manuals, the history of Fuinjutsu from the Uzumaki clan archives, the tactical doctrine of every major hidden village. He read them at night by candlelight, sitting on the floor of his cold room, and he understood them in a way that most jonin never would, because he had nothing else. No friends, no hobbies, no family dinners. Just books and silence and the slow, grinding machinery of a mind that had nothing to do except get sharper. He was, by any objective measure, a genius. Nobody knew. And then came the day everything changed. It was a training exercise at the academy. Basic stuff. Chakra channeling. The students were supposed to push chakra into a leaf and make it stick to their foreheads. Simple. Boring. The kind of exercise that separates the kids who will be ninja from the kids who will sell fish. Naruto picked up the leaf. He pushed chakra into it, and something went wrong. His body rejected the chakra. Not like a failure, not like a kid who cannot mold it properly. His body rejected it the way an immune system rejects a virus. Violently. His tenketsu, the 361 chakra points that form the network every ninja depends on, seized, all of them, at once. He collapsed. The leaf disintegrated. His skin turned white, then black, then white again, flickering like a broken light. Iruka-sensei screamed for a medic. But here is the part that nobody saw, because Naruto's body was convulsing on the floor and everyone was panicking, so nobody was paying attention to the thing that actually mattered. The air around Naruto split, not visually, not in a way that cameras could capture or eyes could easily track. But the fundamental fabric of reality, the thing underneath chakra, underneath nature energy, underneath everything, cracked open for exactly 1.7 seconds, and something poured into Naruto Uzumaki that had not existed in a human body since the Sage of Six Paths walked the earth. Yin-Yang Release, the primordial force, the source code, the thing that existed before chakra, before the tailed beasts, before the god tree, before everything. Yin, spiritual energy, the power to create form from nothing, to imagine something into existence. Yang, physical energy, the power to breathe life into that form, to make the imagined real. Together, they are creation itself, the ability to make something from nothing, the ability to unmake what exists. And they woke up inside a 7-year-old boy who had been eating alone for 3 years. The medics arrived. They stabilized him. They ran tests. They found nothing wrong because there was nothing wrong. Everything was right. Everything was different. His chakra network had not broken. It had been replaced. The tenketsu were still there, technically, but they no longer functioned as chakra points. They functioned as something else. Something the medical scanners had no name for and no way to measure. The medics told Minato their eldest son had suffered a minor chakra overload and would be fine. Minato nodded. He did not visit the hospital. Kushina sent a card. A card. Naruto lay in his hospital bed and stared at the ceiling, and inside his body, the most powerful force in the known universe settled into his bones like it had always been there, and he felt it. He felt all of it. He felt the shape of reality, the weight of existence, the seams where one thing ended and another began. He could feel the wall of the hospital and know, not guess, know every molecule that composed it. He could feel the nurse's heartbeat in the next room. He could feel the chakra network of every person in the building, and they all looked the same to him now. Fragile, like spider silk. He could feel that if he wanted to, he could reach out with his mind and unmake the wall, unmake the building, unmake the nurse. He did not. He closed his eyes. He smiled, and he did not tell anyone. The next 3 years were the most productive period of learning in the history of the shinobi world, and nobody knew it was happening. Naruto trained in secret, always in secret. He found places, abandoned training grounds, the deep forests outside the village walls, the underground tunnels beneath the Hokage monument that nobody used anymore because they were structurally unsound. He trained there alone, every night, from midnight to 4 in the morning. And then he went back to his room and slept for 2 hours and went to the academy and deliberately scored in the middle of the class. Not the bottom. That would attract attention. Not the top. That would attract more. The middle. The invisible zone. The place where nobody looks. He discovered his abilities one at a time, like a man finding rooms in a house he did not know he owned. First, immunity. Chakra-based attacks could not touch him. He tested this carefully, methodically, scientifically. He set up traps in the training ground, wire-triggered explosive tags, basic fire jutsu scrolls, even a low-level genjutsu seal he found in a book. He walked through all of them. The explosions washed over him like warm air. The fire parted around his skin. The genjutsu tried to latch onto his chakra network and found nothing to hold onto, and dissolved. He stood in the middle of a ring of fire and felt nothing. He was immune, not resistant. There is a difference that matters. Second, creation. He could make things, not summon them, not transform chakra into a shape. He could imagine something, a kunai, a wall, a chain, and will it into existence using yin to give it form and yang to give it substance. The first time he did it, he made a rock, a simple gray rock. He held it in his hand and stared at it for 10 minutes because he had just violated the fundamental law of conservation that every scientist and every ninja took as gospel. He had created matter from nothing. He laughed. It was a quiet laugh, a little bit broken. Third, destruction, the inverse. He could touch something and unmake it, not destroy it. Destroying implies force. He could simply remove it from existence. He practiced on rocks first, then trees, then a section of wall in the underground tunnel. He placed his palm on the stone and thought, gone, and it was. No dust, no debris, no explosion. It simply was not there anymore. He stared at the hole in the wall for a long time after that one. He understood what he was. He understood what he could become. And he understood, with the cold clarity of a boy who had been invisible his entire life, that if anyone found out, one of two things would happen. Either they would try to use him, the way Minato used Menma, the way every village used every Jinchuriki, the way the world chewed up anything powerful and spat out what was left. Or they would try to kill him, because what he could do was too dangerous to exist, so he hid it. All of it. He played the average student. He failed the chakra exercises on purpose, easy, since his body rejected chakra manipulation anyway. The teachers assumed he was simply bad at ninjutsu. Talentless, a Hokage's son who inherited nothing. They pitied him. He let them. Meanwhile, in the dark, he built himself into something the world was not ready for. Fuinjutsu came to him like breathing. The Uzumaki clan was legendary for their sealing arts, and Naruto had his mother's blood even if he did not have her attention. But where other seal masters worked with chakra, Naruto worked with Yin-Yang Release, and the difference was like comparing a candle to the sun. He could inscribe seals directly into reality, not onto paper, not onto skin, but into the fabric of space itself. Invisible, undetectable, permanent. By age 9, he had placed a seal on his own body that made him immune to poison. Every poison. He tested it by drinking water from the Nara clan's deer forest, which was laced with a natural neurotoxin that killed small animals on contact. He drank a full cup. Nothing. By age 10, he had placed a seal on his internal organs that prevented any blade weapon from piercing them. He tested this by dropping a kunai onto his own stomach from a height of 6 feet. The blade hit his skin, pushed in a quarter of an inch, and stopped dead, as if it had hit bedrock. By age 11, he had developed a regeneration seal that healed any wound short of decapitation in under 30 seconds. He tested this by cutting his own arm. He watched the skin knit back together like watching a film in reverse, and he felt nothing. Not pain, not fear, not even curiosity anymore, just efficiency. His taijutsu was the masterpiece. Because he could not use ninjutsu, or rather, because using ninjutsu was pointless, when you could simply unmake your opponent's jutsu by looking at it, he had to fight with his body. So he made his body into the most dangerous weapon in the elemental nations. He studied every taijutsu style he could find records of. The strong fist of Konoha, the gentle fist of the Hyuga, the lariat style of Kumogakure, the iron bone technique of Kirigakure, the dancing leaf shadow, the reverse lotus. He studied them all, identified their strengths, identified their weaknesses, and then he threw them all away and built his own. It did not have a name. It did not need one. It was based on a simple principle. The human body has exactly 206 bones, 640 skeletal muscles, and a central nervous system that processes pain signals at a rate of approximately 268 miles per hour. If you know exactly where to strike, exactly how hard, and exactly when, you can disable any opponent in under 10 seconds, regardless of their size, their speed, or their power. He practiced on training dummies until they broke. Then he made new ones with Yin-Yang Release and broke those too. He practiced on trees, on walls, on the air itself, throwing strikes so fast and so precise that the displaced air cut lines in the stone behind him. By the time he was 12, Naruto Uzumaki could kill any jonin in Konoha with his bare hands. He did not tell anyone. He went to the academy. He scored average. He went home to his cold room. He ate alone. He trained alone. He existed alone. And then came the night he left. It was not dramatic. That is what people always get wrong about moments like this. They imagine a confrontation, screaming, crying, a door slamming, the music swelling. It was nothing like that. It was quiet, It was Tuesday. Naruto came home from training at 3 in the morning. He entered through the back door, the way he always did, because the front door's hinges squeaked. And he had learned years ago that if he woke Mito up, Kushina would come downstairs and be annoyed, not at being woken up, but at having her routine disrupted. She would see Naruto and her expression would do that thing. That tiny flinch, not of anger, not of love, but of having forgotten he was there. Like finding a piece of furniture you do not remember buying, he came in through the back door. He walked through the kitchen, and he heard voices. Minato was in the living room, kneeling next to Menma, who was sitting cross-legged on the floor in his pajamas. There was a mission scroll open between them. Minato was speaking in his mission voice, calm, precise, the voice of the Hokage, not the voice of a father. "The extraction team will move here," Minato said, pointing at a map. "Your job is containment. If the target tries to run, you use the fox's chakra to create a perimeter. 3 tails maximum. We've practiced this." Menma nodded. Serious, focused, 12 years old, and already being deployed as a weapon. In the next room, Kushina sat on the couch with Mito curled against her side. Kushina was braiding Mito's hair, long red strands woven into a pattern that looked like it took an hour. They were laughing about something. A boy at the academy, something Mito had said that was funny, normal, warm. The kind of moment that families have, the kind that fills a house with light. Naruto stood in the hallway between the 2 rooms. He could see both. His father briefing his brother for war, his mother braiding his sister's hair in peace, 2 versions of family happening simultaneously. And he was in neither of them. He stood there for 3 minutes, 3 full minutes. Nobody looked up, nobody turned, nobody said his name. He was invisible. Something settled in Naruto's chest in that moment. Not rage. Rage is hot. This was cold. This was the temperature of deep space. Absolute zero, the point where all molecular motion stops, where nothing moves and nothing changes and nothing matters. He felt it crystallize behind his sternum like a shard of black ice, and he knew, with the same certainty he knew the number of bones in the human body, with the same precision he knew the exact force needed to shatter a femur, that he was done. He went upstairs. He packed a bag. 1 bag. A change of clothes. A sealing scroll containing his notes, 5 years of research, techniques, observations, everything he had learned about Yin-Yang Release, compressed into 300 pages of handwriting so small, you would need a magnifying glass to read it. A photograph of the Namikaze family that sat on the mantelpiece downstairs, not because he wanted a memento, but because he wanted to study their faces later. To remind himself what indifference looked like when it wore the mask of love, he put on his shoes. He walked to Menma's room. Menma was there now, back in bed, the mission briefing over. He was staring at the ceiling. He did not look like a boy who had just been trusted with an S-rank mission. He looked tired. He looked 12. Naruto sat on the edge of the bed. Menma turned his head. His eyes widened slightly, not because Naruto scared him, but because Naruto was in his room, and that was unusual. They did not talk much. They did not know each other. They were brothers the way 2 books on the same shelf are related. Proximity without connection. "Naruto, what? Listen to me," Naruto said. His voice was quiet. Not cold yet. That came later. Just quiet. Like a man delivering news he does not enjoy delivering but will not lie about. "They don't love you, Menma. They love the fox inside you. You are a container. The moment you stop being useful, the moment the fox is extracted or sealed tighter or transferred to someone more controllable, they will set you aside. The way they set me aside. Think about it." Menma stared at him. Naruto stood up. "Wait," Menma said. "Where are you going?" Naruto did not answer. He walked to the door. He stopped. He did not turn around. "Goodbye, little brother." He left. He left the house. He left the compound. He left the village. He did not use the gate. That would have triggered the barrier seals. Instead, he placed his palm on the village wall in a section near the 44th training ground, and he unmade a section of it, a perfect circle, 6 feet in diameter. He walked through it. Then he remade it behind him, sealing it back into existence as if it had never been opened. No alarm sounded. No ambush stirred. No one knew he was gone until morning, and by then he was already 40 miles north and moving fast. Now here's where the story gets interesting. Because Naruto did not run to the Sand Village, which would have been predictable. He did not run to the Mist Village, which would have been dramatic. He did not disappear into the wilderness, which would have been romantic. He went to Kumogakure, the Cloud Village. You need to understand why this mattered. Kumogakure was the village that, 15 years earlier, had sent an elite jonin named the head ninja of Kumo to Konoha on a supposed diplomatic mission. That man had tried to kidnap Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto's own mother, on her wedding night, specifically to acquire the Uzumaki bloodline and its sealing abilities for Kumo's military program. The attempt failed. The head ninja was killed. It nearly started a war. Naruto knew this. He had read the classified files. He had read the incident report. He knew every detail. He chose Kumo anyway. He chose it because it was the single most insulting thing he could possibly do. The one village that had tried to steal his mother. The one village that Minato considered a personal enemy. The one village that, if Naruto showed up on their doorstep wearing a Konoha Academy uniform, would make the fourth Hokage look like a man who could not even keep his own family together. It was not strategy. It was a message. Written in the language of pure disrespect, he arrived at Kumo's outer perimeter 3 days later. He was intercepted by a patrol, 2 chunin and a jonin, standard border watch. They surrounded him. The jonin, a tall woman with white hair and a scar across her nose, looked at his academy uniform, looked at his face, looked at his blonde hair and blue eyes, and said, "You're a namikaze." Uzumaki, Naruto corrected. "I want to see the Raikage." They brought him in chains. Standard protocol. He did not resist. He did not need to. The Raikage's office was on the top floor of the tallest building in Kumogakure, a tower carved into the mountain itself. The fourth Raikage, was a massive man, 6'5", 300 pounds of muscle, dark skin, a face like a clenched fist. He sat behind his desk and stared at the 12-year-old boy standing in front of him with the relaxed contempt of a man who had crushed armies. "Minato's kid," the Raikage said. Not a question. "Kushina's kid," Naruto said. "The Uzumaki. The seal masters your village tried to kidnap. I assume you remember." The Raikage's eyes narrowed. "You've got guts coming here, boy." Naruto unslung his bag. He pulled out a single scroll. Small, nondescript. The kind you could buy at any supply shop for 20 ryo. He placed it on the Raikage's desk. "Open it," Naruto said. Looked at the scroll. He looked at Naruto. He looked at the 2 Anbu standing behind Naruto with their hands on their weapons. He opened the scroll. The seal inside activated. Every barrier seal surrounding Kumogakure's war archives, the most heavily protected information vault in the entire village, sealed by the combined efforts of 3 generations of Kumo's best seal masters, deactivated. All of them. Simultaneously. The Anbu in the room felt it. The Raikage felt it. Every sensor-type ninja in the building felt a ripple pass through the village's defensive network like someone had pulled a thread and unraveled a sweater. 4 seconds. The archives were unprotected for exactly 4 seconds before Naruto tapped the scroll again and the seals reactivated. The room was very quiet. The Raikage stared at Naruto for a long time. A very long time. Long enough that the Anbu behind Naruto began to shift uncomfortably. Then a laugh. It was a big laugh. A real one. The kind that came from the belly and shook the desk. He threw his head back and laughed until the sound bounced off the stone walls. "You're hired," the Raikage said. "Someone get this kid a headband." That was how Naruto Uzumaki became a shinobi of Kumogakure at age 12. The next 4 years are a montage. I am going to give you the highlights, because the details would take too long, and most of them involve Naruto sitting in a room reading scrolls while everyone else slept, which is accurate but not exciting. In Kumo, Naruto found something he had never had in Konoha: recognition. Not love, not family. Recognition. The Raikage saw what Naruto was, a weapon of unprecedented capability, and treated him accordingly. He was given resources, training facilities, access to Kumo's jutsu library, which was the second largest in the elemental nations after Konoha's. He was given a team, Samui, Karui, and Omoi, and a sensei named Killer B, the 8 Tails Jinchuriki, who was the only person Naruto had ever met who could take a hit from him and get back up. B was also the first person who ever made Naruto laugh. Not a strategic laugh, not a cold laugh, an actual laugh. Because B was insane in the specific way that only someone who had been a weapon their entire life and decided to become a rapper instead could be. He rhymed during training. He rhymed during missions. He rhymed while eating. He rhymed while bleeding. Yo, little Uzumaki, you hit hard as hell, but your footwork's got the rhythm of a broken bell. Adjust your stance, shift right, now dance. Yeah, that's the Kumo way, give him no chance. Naruto stared at him, begrinned. Naruto's mouth twitched, just barely, the ghost of a smile. Your rhymes are terrible, Naruto said, but they got you listening. That's a victory, kiddo. It was the closest thing to warmth Naruto had felt in years, and it confused him, which annoyed him, which amused B, which annoyed Naruto more, which amused B even more, and the cycle continued for 4 years. Here is what Naruto became during those 4 years. Stated plainly, his taijutsu evolved from lethal to artistic. He sparred with B, a man who fought with 7 swords simultaneously while rapping, and held his own. He sparred with the Raikage himself, who moved at the speed of lightning, and while he could not match A's raw speed, he could predict where A would be before A knew himself. He would stand still while the Raikage blitzed toward him, and then shift 2 inches to the left at the exact right moment, and A's fist would whistle past his ear and crater the wall behind him. And Naruto would tap the Raikage on the shoulder and say, "You telegraph from the right hip." Nearly killed him for that. But he also promoted him. His Fuin Jutsu reached a level that made Kumo's entire ceiling division look like children playing with crayons. He rewrote the village's barrier network, not because they asked, but because he was bored and the existing seals had 17 inefficiencies that irritated him. He developed new seals, the Seal of Immunity, which absorbed chakra-based attacks on contact, the Seal of Severance, which could cut a Jinchuriki's connection to their tailed beast for exactly 10 seconds, long enough to land a killing blow if needed. And the Chains of the Underworld, his masterpiece, a Fuin Jutsu technique that summoned chains of pure yin energy, each one capable of suppressing even a tailed beast's chakra. He based it on the Uzumaki chakra chains that his mother was famous for. He improved them. Because of course he did. His Yin-Yang Release grew. He learned to create with precision, not just rocks and kunai, but complex structures, barriers, platforms. He could make a bridge out of nothing and walk across it. He could make a wall appear between himself and an attack faster than the attack could travel. He learned to destroy with equal precision, erasing specific objects, specific seals, specific techniques from existence without affecting anything around them. A scalpel, not a hammer. And the technique he developed in the last year of his training, the one he never showed anyone, the one he practiced alone in the mountains outside Kumo, where the air was thin and the lightning storms were constant, was something that should not have been possible. He called it secret art, Nagasaki. He combined yin and yang into a single point, collapsing creation and destruction into a singularity. And when he released it, the result was an explosion of pure existential force. Not fire, not wind, not chakra, light. The light of creation itself, compressed and detonated. The first time he tested it, he erased a mountain, not destroyed, erased. Where the mountain had been, there was a perfectly smooth crater, and the air smelled like ozone, and the clouds above the test site had a hole in them shaped like a perfect circle. He looked at the crater for a while. Then he went home and ate dinner and did not tell anyone. He was 16 when the message came. The Chunin exams, hosted in Konohagakure. The Raikage wanted a team there, not for the promotion, which was administrative theater, but for intelligence. Every village used the Chunin exams as a showcase, a way to measure the competition, to see who had what and who was hiding what. I looked at Naruto across his desk. "You know what I'm asking," the Raikage said. "You want me to go back," Naruto said. "I want you to go back and make them regret losing you." Loudly. Naruto considered this. He thought about the cold room, the card from the hospital, the 3 minutes in the hallway. "When do we leave?" he said. They arrived in Konoha on a Tuesday. 4 Kumo shinobi, Naruto, Samui, Karui, and Omoi, plus their Jonin escort, Darui. They entered through the main gate because unlike Naruto's departure 4 years ago, this time he wanted to be seen. He got his wish. The first person to recognize him was Izumo, the gate guard, who looked at the Kumo headband and then at the face, and then did the math and dropped his clipboard. And Naruto? Naruto kept walking. Kotetsu, the other gate guard, grabbed Izumo's arm. That's the Hokage's. Naruto kept walking. The whispers started within minutes. They spread through the village like fire through dry grass. Naruto Uzumaki, the forgotten son, the one who disappeared 4 years ago and was listed as a missing 9, before the Raikage sent a diplomatic communique clarifying that Naruto was now a citizen of Kumogakure, and any attempt to retrieve him would be considered an act of war. The communique had been addressed to the Hokage personally. It was rumored that Minato had cracked his desk in half when he read it. Naruto walked through the streets he had grown up on. He recognized the buildings, the academy, the ramen shop where he used to eat alone, the Namikaze compound, visible on the hill in the distance. He felt nothing, or maybe he felt everything and had simply gotten very good at not showing it. That is the thing about people like Naruto. You never know which one it is, and neither do they. Registration for the Chunin exams was held in the Academy building, room 301. The hallway was packed. Teams from every major village, Konoha, Suna, Kumo, Kiri, smaller villages too. Naruto walked through the crowd and the crowd parted for him, not because they were afraid, but because something about the way he moved made people step aside instinctively. The way you move away from the edge of a cliff without being told to. He entered the registration room, and there they were. Minato was standing near the proctor's desk, speaking with Ibiki Morino. The Hokage was here personally for the exam oversight, standard for a hosting village. He was wearing the white robes and the hat, and he looked exactly the same as Naruto remembered. Same golden hair, same calm expression, same blue eyes that could see a kunai coming from 200 meters away, but could not see his own son standing 10 feet in front of him for 12 years. Minato looked up. Their eyes met. The color drained from Minato's face so fast it was almost medical. His mouth opened slightly. His hand, which had been gesturing casually at Ibiki, froze in midair. For one moment, one single hanging moment, the fourth Hokage, the man who had stared down the Nine Tails without flinching, looked like he had been punched in the stomach. Naruto, he said. Naruto looked at him for exactly 2 seconds. He took in the robes, the hat, the expression, the way Minato's hand was now reaching toward him. Reaching, the way you reach for something you dropped. Then Naruto looked away. He looked past Minato, past Ibiki, to the registration desk at the far wall. He walked to it. He signed his name. He took his number. He turned and walked back to his team. He did not speak to Minato. He did not acknowledge him. He treated the Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village the way you treat a lamppost. Something that exists, occupies space, and has no relevance to your life. Minato stood there with his hand still half raised. Ibiki, who was not known for his emotional sensitivity, winced. In the back of the room, leaning against the wall, Menma Namikaze watched. He was 16 now, tall, blonde, the spitting image of his father, wearing a Konoha headband and the red scarf Kushina had given him. His face was unreadable, but his hands, shoved deep in his pockets, were shaking. 4 years. 4 years since his brother sat on the edge of his bed and said those words. 4 years of turning them over in his mind like a stone in a river, wearing away the edges until the truth underneath was smooth and sharp and impossible to deny. They don't love you, brother. They love the fox inside you. Menma had tried to disprove it. He had tried to believe that his parents loved him, not the beast, and for 2 years he mostly succeeded. But then there were moments, small moments, Minato adjusting Menma's training to maximize the fox's chakra output. Kushina saying, "We need you at full strength," instead of, "We need you to be safe." The subtle, constant, grinding prioritization of the weapon over the boy. And now his brother was back, wearing a Kumo headband, looking at their father like he was nothing. Menma watched Naruto's back as he rejoined his team, and the expression on Menma's face was the kind that therapists write papers about. Across the room, Maido Namikaze was standing with her teammates, a Konoha Kunoichi team, bells and whistles, nothing exceptional. She was 14 now, red-haired like her mother, pretty, confident, the kind of girl who had never been told no in her life. She saw Naruto and blinked. "Is that our brother?" Her teammate looked over. "Huh? You have a brother?" Mito stared at Naruto. She tried to remember his face. She tried to remember the last time she had seen him. She couldn't. And that said everything. Kushina was not in the room. She was at home in the Namikaze compound, unaware that her eldest son was 50 feet from her husband. She would find out within the hour when Minato appeared in the doorway of their kitchen with a face like ash and said, "He's here." Kushina dropped a teacup. It shattered on the floor. "What?" "Naruto. He's here. For the Chunin exams, he's wearing a Kumo headband." Kushina's legs went weak. She grabbed the counter. The thing about Kushina Uzumaki, and this is important, is that she was not a monster. She loved her children. She believed she loved all three of them. The problem was that love is not a feeling. Love is action. And her actions for 12 years told a story that her feelings could not rewrite. "I have to see him," she said. "He won't speak to me," Minato said. His voice was the voice of a man standing in front of a problem he could not solve with ninjutsu. He looked at me like I was a stranger. Kushina's eyes filled with tears. Good. Meanwhile, Naruto was sitting with his team in the waiting area, and Kuri was losing her mind. "That was the Hokage?" she hissed. "You just walked past the Hokage like he was a door?" "Doors are more useful," Naruto said. Omoi leaned back in his chair. "What if the Hokage decides to kill us? What if he cancels the exams? What if he declares war? What if—" "Omoi, shut up," Samui said calmly. She looked at Naruto. Her expression was cool, as always, but there was something in her eyes, something between concern and amusement. "You're sure about this?" "About what?" "Poking the most powerful man in this village." Naruto tilted his head. "He's not the most powerful man in this village. Not anymore." That statement hung in the air like a thrown kunai. Darui, their Jonin escort, sighed from where he was leaning against the wall. "This is gonna be so not cool." The preliminary rounds began the next day. The format was standard: random matchups, one-on-one fights, single elimination. The arena was the same underground chamber beneath the exam building that had been used for decades. Concrete walls, metal railings, a proctor in the center. The board shuffled names: Naruto Uzumaki versus Kiba Inuzuka. Kiba jumped the railing before the match was even called. He landed in the center of the arena with Akamaru on his shoulder, grinning, teeth sharp, the wild confidence of a clan heir who had been training with war dogs since he could walk. Naruto took the stairs. "Look at this guy," Kiba called out. "The ghost from Kumo. I heard you can't even use jutsu, man. What are you gonna do, bore me to death?" Akamaru barked. The crowd laughed. In the stands, the Konohajinen watched with varying levels of interest. Menma was watching from the upper railing, arms crossed. Sasuke Uchiha, standing beside him, glanced down with mild curiosity. Sakura Haruno leaned forward. Shikamaru muttered, "Troublesome." Ino and Tenten whispered to each other. In the Jonin section, Kakashi Hatake lowered his book by half an inch. On the balcony reserved for visiting dignitaries, Darui shook his head slowly. Naruto reached the arena floor. He stood across from Kiba. He did not take a stance. His hands stayed at his sides. His posture was relaxed, shoulders loose, weight centered, feet at shoulder width. To the untrained eye, he looked like a man waiting for a bus. To the trained eye, and there were many trained eyes in that room, he looked like a coiled spring. The proctor raised his hand. "Begin!" Kiba moved first. Of course he did. He dropped to all fours, beast mimicry, and Akamaru leaped off his shoulder, transforming in midair into a feral clone of his partner. Two Kibas now, both low to the ground, both moving fast, circling in opposite directions. Fang over fang! They launched. Twin spiraling cyclones of teeth and claws, converging on Naruto from two angles. Fast, loud. The kind of attack that looked devastating from the stands, and usually was. Naruto tilted his head. 14 degrees to the right. He had already analyzed it. In the 1.3 seconds between Kiba's launch and impact, Naruto's mind processed the following. Kiba's weight distribution favored the left leg, meaning the spiral's rotation was counterclockwise, meaning the attack's force was concentrated on the outside edge, meaning the dead zone, the point of zero contact, was exactly 7 inches to the left of center at chest height. Naruto shifted 7 inches to the left. Both spirals screamed past him. The wind ruffled his hair. He did not move his feet. Kiba and Akamaru overshot, slammed into the far wall, and tumbled apart. They recovered fast. Credit where it was due. The Inuzuka trained their kids hard. Kiba spun around, panting, disoriented. "What the? How did you?" Naruto was already in front of him. He moved so fast that the spectators who blinked missed it entirely. One moment he was standing in the center of the arena. The next, he was inside Kiba's guard, close enough to whisper. Kiba's eyes widened. Discombobulate. Both palms hit Kiba's ears simultaneously. Not hard enough to rupture the eardrums. That would be permanent damage, and the proctors frowned on that. Hard enough to destroy his equilibrium entirely. The Inuzuka clan's enhanced hearing, their greatest sensory advantage, became the weapon that ended them. The ringing was catastrophic. Kiba's world tilted sideways. He stumbled. Naruto was already moving. Palm strike to the ribcage, right side. 3 ribs cracked, third and fourth, precisely where the bone was thinnest. Kiba's body folded toward the impact. Naruto's other hand was already there. A strike to the left side, 1 rib, the 7th, cracking clean. The symmetry of the damage forced Kiba's diaphragm to spasm. His breath left him in a wheeze. Kiba was falling now, gravity and pain pulling him down. In the span of a single second, he went from a confident Inuzuka clan heir to a boy with no balance, no breath, and no idea what was happening. Naruto caught his jaw on the way down, open palm uppercut, calibrated. The force was exact, enough to shatter the jaw, not enough to drive bone fragments into the brainstem. Naruto had practiced this specific strike 11,000 times on training dummies of varying density. He could regulate the impact to the quarter Newton. Kiba's head snapped back. His eyes rolled white. He left the ground, not far, just 6 inches, and then he came back down, flat on his back, out cold before he hit the floor. The arena was silent. Akamaru, still in his transformed state, looked at his partner on the ground. He looked at Naruto. He whimpered. Then he released the transformation and shrank back into a small white dog and crawled to Kiba's side and pressed his nose against Kiba's hand. 11 seconds. Start to finish. The proctor stared. He had been a Chunin exam proctor for 9 years. He had seen a lot of fights. He had never seen anything like that. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto dusted off his sleeve. He turned and walked back toward the stairs. His face was blank. His eyes were flat. He did not look at the crowd. He did not look at his parents. Minato, who was gripping the railing so hard the metal was bending. Kushina, who had arrived just in time to watch from the doorway, her hand over her mouth, tears streaking her face. Naruto paused at the base of the stairs. He said, flatly, to no one in particular, next. Kakashi's book was closed now. His visible eye was wide. He turned to Guy, who was standing next to him. Guy? I saw it, Guy said. His voice had lost all its usual bombast. That was not youthful enthusiasm. That was not a fighting style I recognize. That was surgery, Kakashi finished. Surgery, Guy agreed. In the stands, Shikamaru sat back and rubbed his temples. What a drag. That guy's in a completely different league. Sasuke said nothing, but his Sharingan was active, and he had recorded every movement, every strike, every shift. He played it back in his mind. He played it back again. The precision was inhuman. Menma had not moved, had not blinked. He watched his older brother walk up the stairs with the same flat expression, the same unhurried pace, and he felt something shift inside his chest. Not pride, not fear, recognition. The recognition that his brother, the boy who ate alone, who slept in a cold room, who nobody remembered to wish happy birthday, was the most dangerous person in this building, and nobody had known. The rest of the preliminary rounds went as expected. Sasuke beat his opponent efficiently. Menma won his match with controlled bursts of the fox's chakra. Mito scraped by on Uzumaki tenacity and a few basic sealing techniques. Neji Hyuga dismantled his opponent with the gentle fist. Lee demonstrated the gates. Gaara of the Sand sat in his corner and let his sand do everything. Naruto watched all of them with the same flat expression. He cataloged their abilities, their weaknesses, their tells. He filed each one away in the architecture of his mind and did not share his conclusions with anyone. Samui made it through her match cleanly. Karui won by overwhelming aggression. Omoi won by overthinking his opponent into a mistake, which was somehow both pathetic and brilliant. The finals bracket was set, and between the prelims and the finals, the village unraveled. It started with Menma. 3 days after the preliminaries, Menma was called to the Hokage's office for a briefing on the upcoming finals. Standard procedure, security protocol, scheduling, the usual. He arrived early, not intentionally, just because he had been walking the streets unable to sleep and ended up at the tower before dawn. The office was empty. Minato was not there yet, but the desk was not empty. There was a scroll, unsealed, left out. The classification stamp on it read S rank, eyes only, Hokage, and it should have been locked in the vault, but someone had been reviewing it the night before and forgotten to put it back. And that someone was Minato, who had been too shaken by Naruto's return to follow protocol. Menma should not have read it. He read it. The scroll was a mission order, dated 2 years ago, signed by Minato Namikaze in his capacity as Hokage. The mission was designated Operation Crimson Thread, and its objective was simple. Hinata Hyuga, Menma's girlfriend, his teammate, the girl who had stood by him through everything, who kissed him under the bridge by Training Ground 7 and told him she loved him and meant it, had been assigned to develop a close personal relationship with Uchiha Sasuke for purposes of bloodline preservation and strategic alliance. The language was clinical, detached. It described Hinata as an asset. It described the Byakugan and the Sharingan as complementary bloodline traits with significant military value if combined through natural reproduction. It described the timeline. Hinata was to establish emotional rapport with Sasuke within 6 months, deepen the relationship within a year, and ensure genetic continuity within 3 years. Menma read it twice. Then he read it a third time because his vision was blurring and he needed to be sure. He put the scroll back on the desk, exactly where it had been. He straightened it. He made sure the edges were aligned. Then he walked out of the Hokage's office and down the stairs and out of the tower and into the street, and he walked for 3 hours without speaking or stopping or looking at anyone. They don't love you, brother. You are a container. He had dismissed those words. For 4 years, he had wrestled with them, argued against them, built walls of denial and rationalization to keep them out. His parents loved him. They did. They showed it differently, that was all. They were busy. They had responsibilities. It was not neglect. It was just how things were. But the scroll did not care about his rationalizations. The scroll was black ink on white paper. It was his father's handwriting. It was his father's seal. It was a document that reduced the girl Menma loved to a breeding program, and the boy Menma considered a friend to a set of useful genes. And if Minato could do that to Hinata, could sign an order turning her into a tool for bloodline manipulation without her knowledge or consent, then what had he done to Menma? What was the fox, if not the ultimate bloodline? What was a Jinchuriki, if not a container? Menma found Hinata that evening. He did not go looking for her. He was walking past Training Ground 3, taking the long way home because he could not face the compound, and he heard laughter, soft, warm. The kind of laugh Hinata only made when she was genuinely happy, not the polite version she showed to the world. He stepped off the path. He moved through the trees. He came to the edge of the clearing. Hinata was sitting on a log. Sasuke was next to her. Close. Their shoulders were touching. Sasuke was saying something, quiet, almost smiling, which was remarkable because Sasuke Uchiha did not smile. Hinata's hand was on his arm. It was not training. Menma stood in the trees and watched and felt the last load-bearing wall inside his chest collapse. He did not confront them. He turned around and walked away, silent, invisible. The way Naruto used to walk through their house. Over the next 2 weeks, Menma changed. It was subtle at first. He trained harder. He spoke less. He stopped seeking Minato's approval after training sessions, just nodded and left. He stopped sitting with Hinata at meals. He stopped sleeping. The circles under his eyes darkened. Kushina noticed. Of course she did. She was his mother, and she noticed the son who carried the fox. She pulled him aside one evening. Menma, honey, are you all right? He looked at her, really looked at her, studied her face the way Naruto used to study his books. Did you know about Operation Crimson Thread? He asked. Kushina's expression flickered, just for a moment, a micro-expression, a tell. She knew. Menma, that's a classified. Did you know? Your father and I discussed the strategic importance of... Menma walked away. Kushina called his name. He did not turn around. That night, in his room, in the warm room with the good window and the soft bed that his brother never had, Menma sat in the dark and thought about Naruto's words. And for the first time, he did not argue with them. While Menma's world crumbled, Naruto's continued exactly as planned. He spent the 2-week break between the prelims and the finals doing 3 things. First, he trained lightly because he did not need heavy training. He was already where he needed to be. Second, he gathered intelligence. He walked the village openly, wearing his Kumo headband, and let people stare. He visited the memorial stone. He visited the academy. He visited the ramen shop, Ichiraku's, and sat at the counter and ordered miso ramen. And old man Tochi recognized him immediately and nearly dropped his ladle. "Naruto, Naruto, where have you, I thought?" "I left," Naruto said. "I'm back for the exams. Your ramen is still the best." Tochi's daughter Ayame was crying. Tochi was trying not to. They had been the only people in the entire village who had treated young Naruto like a person, and they had always wondered what happened to him. And now he was here with a foreign headband and cold eyes, and he still ordered the miso. Naruto ate 3 bowls. He left payment and a tip large enough to cover a month of rent. He did not explain. He did not owe them that. But he was not cruel to people who had been kind to him. There were very few of those people, which made them easy to remember. The third thing Naruto did during the break was the most important, and he did it on the last night before the finals. He went to the Namikaze compound, not inside. He stood outside, on the street, at 2 in the morning. He looked at the house. The lights were off. His family was sleeping. He could feel them. Minato's chakra signature on the 2nd floor. Kushina's beside him. Mito's down the hall. Minma's in his room. He could feel Minma's chakra. It was wrong. Agitated. The fox's energy was leaking. Not much, not dangerously, but like heat from a cracked furnace. Minma was not sleeping. He was lying in the dark, and the beast inside him was feeding on his grief. Naruto looked at the house for 5 minutes. Then he turned and walked away. He did not feel guilt. He had planted the seed in Minma's mind 4 years ago. He had known, with the calculated precision of a man who understood human psychology the way he understood human anatomy, that the seed would grow, that Minma would look for proof, that Minma would find it, because the proof was everywhere if you knew where to look. Was it cruel? Yes. Was it necessary? Naruto had not decided yet. But the chess pieces were in motion, and removing one now would collapse the board. He was always 10 steps ahead. The finals arrived. The arena was packed. 20,000 people in the stands, civilians, merchants, diplomats, nobles. The Kaji box held the Hokage, the Kazekage, and a diplomatic envoy from Kumo representing the Raikage. Every major clan had representatives. The Hyuga section was a block of white robes and pale eyes. The Uchiha section was smaller. The clan had been reduced to Sasuke alone after the massacre, but the political allies and name hangers still showed up. Konoha's elite jonin lined the upper walls. Kakashi, Gai, Kurenai, Asuma, Anko. The Anbu were hidden but present. Naruto could feel 14 of them in the infrastructure around the arena, which was 4 fewer than optimal coverage, which told him Minato was either overconfident or had redeployed forces elsewhere. The crowd buzzed. The sun was high. The arena floor was packed earth and stone, 100 meters in diameter, surrounded by concrete walls designed to contain anything up to a B-rank explosion. Those walls were about to become irrelevant. The first match was called Asuna Jinin versus one of Konoha's. Standard fight. The crowd cheered. Naruto did not watch it. He sat in the competitor's box with his arms crossed and his eyes closed, and he waited. The second match came and went. The third. The crowd grew louder. The spectacle built. Then the board lit up with the match everyone had been waiting for. Naruto Uzumaki versus Neji Hyuga. The crowd erupted. The whispers that had been circulating for 2 weeks, the Hokage's son, the defector, the boy who beat Kiba in 11 seconds, reached a crescendo. People leaned forward. Cameras clicked. In the Kage box, Minato's jaw tightened. Beside him, the Kazekage, who was not who he appeared to be, but that is a different story, tilted his head with interest. Neji was already on the arena floor. He stood with perfect posture, arms folded, the picture of Hyuga dignity. His Byakugan was not yet active. He did not need it to project confidence. Naruto walked down the stairs to the arena floor. He walked slowly, not dramatically. He simply was not in a hurry. His Kumo headband caught the light. His expression was neutral. His hands were in his pockets. He stopped 20 feet from Neji. The proctor, Genma Shiranui, toothpick and all, stood between them. Fighters ready? Neji activated his Byakugan. and froze. The Byakugan sees chakra. It sees the network, the pathways, the tenketsu, the flow. In a normal human, it looks like a river system, blue-white channels running through the body in a pattern that is as unique as a fingerprint but follows the same general architecture. Naruto did not have that. What Neji saw was nothing, not darkness, not absence, something else. The space where a chakra network should have been was filled with something his eyes could perceive but his brain could not process. It was like looking at a color that did not exist. The tenketsu, the 361 points that the gentle fist was designed to strike, were there, technically, but they were not functioning as chakra points. They were functioning as something else, something that made Neji's Byakugan hurt to look at. Something like alarm crossed his face. He suppressed it. He was a Hyuga. He did not show weakness. Your chakra network is unusual, Neji said carefully. I don't have one, Naruto said. Not the way you understand it. Then you are crippled. The gentle fist will try it. Genma looked between them, raised his hand. Begin. Neji moved first. He was fast, genuinely fast, the fastest Hyuga of his generation, trained since birth in the art of the gentle fist. He closed the distance in under a second, leading with his right hand, targeting the tenketsu cluster at the left shoulder. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. He struck, and struck, and struck. His hands were a blur. Each palm hit precisely where a tenketsu should have been. 2 palms, 4 palms, 8, 16, 32, 64. Every single strike landed clean on Naruto's body. Neji's fingers made contact with Naruto's arms, chest, shoulders, abdomen, thighs. He hit every target. Naruto stood there and took all 64 hits. Nothing happened. No chakra disruption. No tenketsu ceiling. No staggering. No pain. Each time Neji's palm made contact, a seal flared briefly across Naruto's skin. Gold, intricate, beautiful. The seal of immunity activating and absorbing every joule of chakra Neji pushed into the strike. The energy did not bounce back. It did not redirect. It simply ceased to exist. Neji finished the sequence. He was panting. Not from exhaustion, from shock. 64 palms, the pinnacle of the Hyuga gentle fist, the technique that had never failed him, that had ended every fight he had ever been in, had done nothing. Absolutely nothing. Naruto looked down at his arm where the last strike had landed. He brushed it off, like lint. Interesting sensation, he said. Mild tingling? Are you finished? Neji's Byakugan pulsed. He stepped back. He shifted into the rotation stance, the ultimate Hyuga defense. But Naruto did not attack. Instead, he turned away from Neji entirely. He faced the crowd. Specifically, he faced the section of the stands where the foreign shinobi were sitting. The Kumo and Iwa Jonin, the Suna observers, the intelligence operatives from every village who were here with notebooks and recording devices. And he started talking. The Byakugan, Naruto said, his voice carrying across the silent arena with the casual authority of a professor beginning a lecture, has a blind spot. A 50-degree arc directly behind the second thoracic vertebra. This is a physiological limitation of the eye itself. The optic nerve connects at an angle that creates a cone of zero visibility in that exact position. The Hyuga have known about this weakness for centuries and have compensated for it through formations and the rotation technique. The crowd stirred. In the Hyuga section, Hiyashi Hyuga sat forward. Speaking of the rotation, Naruto continued, pacing casually, hands behind his back. The chitin, their ultimate defense, has a startup delay of approximately 0.5 seconds. This is the time required for the Hyuga to expel chakra from every tenketsu simultaneously and begin the spin. A sufficiently fast attacker who knows the exact moment to strike can hit a Hyuga between the decision to rotate and the rotation itself. The window is small, but it exists. Hiyashi was on his feet now. Other Hyuga elders were standing. Their faces were white. Furthermore, Naruto said, turning slightly, his voice still perfectly calm, perfectly conversational, the gentle fist is a style designed entirely around the assumption that the opponent has a functioning chakra network with standard tenketsu. Remove that assumption, and every technique in the Hyuga arsenal becomes purely decorative. There is no plan B. The Hyuga have never developed one because they have never needed to. He paused. He looked at Neji, who was standing in the middle of the arena with an expression that mixed fury and horror in equal measure. Which brings me to you specifically, Neji, Naruto said. You are talented, genuinely. The rotation, the 64 palms, you learned those without a main branch teacher, which is remarkable. But your talent has made you arrogant, and your arrogance has made you predictable, and your predictability has made you easy. Neiji's fists clenched. Veins pulsed around his Byakugan. You dare. Your ideology is also wrong, Naruto said. You believe in fate. You believe that destiny is fixed, that the circumstances of your birth determine the trajectory of your life, that a branch member can never surpass the main house. That is the truth of this world, Neji said through his teeth. Fate is, I was born the eldest son of the fourth Hokage, Naruto said. I was raised in a warm house with 2 parents and every advantage a child could ask for. Fate should have made me a prince. Instead, I was invisible. I was forgotten. I was nothing. And now I am standing in front of you, and your best technique could not leave a bruise. He stepped toward Neji. Fate does not exist. I am proof. Neji screamed and attacked. Raw. Emotional. Everything the Hyuga trained out of their children but could never fully suppress. He lunged with both palms. A vacuum palm, compressed air fired at close range. Naruto's hand moved. One fluid motion. He intercepted the vacuum palm with an open hand, and the compressed air dissipated against the seal of immunity like a wave hitting a cliff. Then Naruto was inside Neji's guard, elbow strike to the solar plexus. Neji folded, knee to the chin, rising, sharp, the kind of strike that rearranges your relationship with consciousness. Neji's head snapped back. He stumbled. Naruto grabbed his wrist, twisted, swept his legs, and put him on the ground, face down. One arm pinned behind his back, Naruto's knee on his spine. Neji struggled. Naruto increased the pressure by exactly 6 pounds per square inch, enough to make it very clear that the next increase would be disabling. Yield, Naruto said. I won't. 6 more pounds per square inch, Neji gasped. Yield. I yield. Naruto released him. He stood up. He stepped back. Neji lay on the ground, trembling, not from pain, but from something worse. His ideology was in pieces. His pride was in pieces. His clan's secrets were now public knowledge. Everything he had believed about the world, about his place in it, about the ceiling above his head, a boy from Kumo had just demolished all of it in under 2 minutes. Naruto looked down at him. For what it is worth, Naruto said quietly, quiet enough that only Neji could hear. You are better than they let you be. The cage is real, but you are the one who decides whether to stay in it. He walked away. The arena was chaos. The Hyuga section was in an uproar. Hiyashi was screaming at the Anbu. Other Hyuga elders were demanding an emergency session. The foreign shinobi were writing furiously. Every intelligence operative in the building had just been handed a master class in how to fight the Byakugan, and they knew it, and the Hyuga knew they knew it. In the Kage box, Minato had his face in his hands. The Kazekage was smiling beneath his veil, but his eyes were the eyes of someone calculating something much larger. Kakashi turned to Guy again. He just exposed the Hyuga's classified combat data, in public, at an international event. Deliberately, Guy said. This wasn't just a fight. This was a message. To whom? Kakashi looked at the Hokage box. To everyone. Darui, in the Kumo section, allowed himself a small smile. Okay, that was cool. The matches continued, but the mood had shifted. The arena felt different now. Charged. Every spectator had the same thought running through their head. What else does that kid know? What else can he do? Naruto returned to the competitor's box and sat down and closed his eyes. Samui handed him a water bottle. He drank it. You're enjoying this, she said. I don't enjoy things, he said. Liar. His mouth twitched. Barely. The semifinals progressed. The crowd got what they wanted. Exciting fights, dramatic moments, the spectacle the Chunin exams were designed to provide. But underneath it all, like a bass note that everyone could feel but nobody could name, was the anticipation. The sense that the real event had not happened yet. It came in the form of the match that nobody expected to go wrong. Menma Namikaze versus Sasuke Uchiha. The crowd was electric. 2 Konoha prodigies. The Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails versus the last Uchiha. It was a marquee matchup, the kind that sold tickets and filled stands and made old men in the Kaji box lean forward in their seats. Menma walked to the arena floor. He looked different. The scarf was gone. His eyes were red-rimmed. His posture was stiff. Everyone attributed it to nerves, to the pressure of performing in front of the village. Nobody knew about the scroll. Nobody knew about Hinata and Sasuke. Nobody knew about the war inside Minma's chest. Nobody except Naruto, who watched from the competitor's box with his arms crossed and his eyes open. Sasuke took his position across from Minma. He was composed, confident, the Sharingan already spinning, 3 tomoe in each eye, fully matured. He looked at Minma the way he looked at every opponent, with cold appraisal. And then Minma looked at Sasuke, and something passed between them that had nothing to do with the fight, and everything to do with a girl with pale eyes and a scroll signed in his father's handwriting. "Begin," Genma called. The fight started fast. Sasuke opened with the Uchiha Interceptor style. Fast, economical, the Sharingan tracking Minma's movements and predicting his attack patterns. Minma responded with the Namikaze hybrid style, a blend of his father's speed techniques and his mother's aggressive Uzumaki combat, enhanced by controlled leaks of the fox's chakra that increased his physical parameters. They clashed in the center. Taijutsu. Blow for blow, the crowd roared. Sasuke threw a spin kick. Minma blocked it with his forearm. Minma countered with a hook. Sasuke ducked. Fire release, great fireball jutsu. A sphere of fire the size of a house erupted from Sasuke's mouth. Minma dodged, barely, the heat scorching the ground where he had been standing. He landed and formed seals. Wind release, gale palm. A blast of wind caught the remains of the fireball and redirected it back at Sasuke, who substituted out with a log and appeared behind Minma with a kunai aimed at his back. Minma spun, caught the blade between 2 fingers, an Uzumaki reflex, and hurled it back. Sasuke deflected with his own kunai. Sparks flew. The fight continued for 7 minutes. It was good. Technically impressive. The crowd loved it. But Minma was losing on points, not on power. He had the fox's chakra, he had the stamina, he had the raw destructive capacity to level the arena if he let loose. But he was not present. He was not in the fight. His eyes kept drifting. Not to the audience, not to his parents in the Kaji box, but to the spot in the stands where Hinata Hyuga was sitting. She was watching. Her hands were clasped in her lap. Her Byakugan was not active. She looked nervous. Minma's next punch was sloppy. Sasuke dodged it easily and punished him. A Sharingan predicted counter that landed clean on Minma's jaw and sent him staggering, Sasuke said. Cold, clinical. "You're not fighting me. You're fighting something in your head." Minma wiped blood from his lip. "What would you know about it?" he said. "I know you're wasting my time. Fight or forfeit." Minma's eyes flickered. The red of the fox pulsed behind the blue. "It was just for a moment." "Fight or forfeit," he repeated. "That's all anyone wants from me, isn't it? Perform. Be useful. Be the weapon." Sasuke frowned. "What are you talking about?" Minma looked at him. Really looked at him. And Sasuke saw something in those eyes that made his Sharingan spin faster. Not a technique, not a chakra buildup. Something human. "You took her," Minma said quietly. "Or she went to you. I don't even know which one is worse." Sasuke's expression shifted, a crack in the ice. Understanding. And then guilt. A flash of it, quickly suppressed. But the Sharingan could not hide what the face revealed. "Minma, this isn't... Do you love her?" The arena went quiet. Not because the crowd heard. They were too far away, too loud. But the fighters had stopped moving. They were standing in the center of the arena, 20 feet apart, and the combat had dissolved into something else entirely. Sasuke did not answer. That was the answer. Minma smiled. It was the worst smile anyone in that arena had ever seen. It was the smile of a boy who had just confirmed the last thing he needed to confirm before letting go of everything. "Thanks," Minma said. "That's all I needed." The chakra erupted. Not gradually, not in the controlled bursts Minma had been trained to use. It exploded. Red, dense, violent. The fox's chakra tore out of Minma's body like something caged for 16 years finally breaking free. 1 tail formed, then 2, then 3. The ground beneath Minma's feet cracked. His skin began to darken, the chakra eating through his cells and reforming them. His eyes went fully red, slitted, inhuman, furious. 4 tails, Minma screamed. Not a battle cry, a scream of grief, of betrayal, of a boy who had been a weapon his entire life and was only now realizing it. The sound was terrible. It hit the stands like a physical force. 5 tails. The 5th tail formed and the transformation crossed a line. Minma's skin split. Blood mixed with red chakra, forming a second body over his own, the skeletal outline of the fox, bones of pure malice, a shell of destruction wrapping around a 16-year-old boy who had simply been hurt too many times. The arena cracked. Not the floor, the walls. The concrete walls designed to contain B-rank explosions fractured from base to top. The shockwave knocked the front rows of spectators off their seats. Jonin grabbed civilians and jumped. Anbu deployed barriers. Sasuke was blown backward. He hit the wall. His Sharingan spun wildly, trying to track the chakra, trying to find an angle of attack, and finding nothing. The fox's power was too vast, too raw. It was like trying to use a magnifying glass to study the sun. In the Kage box, Minato was already moving. He cleared the railing in a single leap and hit the arena floor running. His Hokage robes flared behind him. His face was white. Minma! The five-tailed Minma turned toward his father. The fox's face, half-formed, a skull of red energy, grinned. Not Minma's grin, the fox's. Kurama's, Minato formed seals. Uzumaki sealing art, 5-point. Minma swung one arm, one motion. The shockwave hit Minato like a freight train. The fourth Hokage, the yellow flash, the man who could teleport anywhere in the world with a thought, did not have time to use the flying thunder god because the attack was not aimed at a point. It was aimed everywhere. A wall of force. Minato flew backward through the arena wall and through the concrete structure behind it, his body punching through two solid barriers before skidding to a stop in the corridor beyond. He was alive. Barely. Blood ran from his mouth and his left arm hung at a wrong angle. Kushina appeared in the arena next. Her Uzumaki chakra chains erupted. Golden, powerful, the same chains that had once bound the Nine Tails itself. Minma, baby, listen to me. You need to. The fox's chakra roared. The chains wrapped around one of the tails. The tail flexed. The chains shattered. Kushina staggered. Her chains, her signature technique, her pride, her inheritance had been snapped like thread. She looked at her hands. Then she looked at her son, her monster, her weapon. Minma, she whispered. He could not hear her. The boy was gone. The fox was driving now. Jonin converged. Kakashi, Guy, Asuma. They hit the arena floor with techniques blazing. Kakashi with the Chidori crackling in his fist, Guy in the third gate, Asuma with his wind blades. They attacked the tails. The tails swatted them back. The gap in power was humiliating. The Nine Tails, even at 5 of 9 tails, was a force of nature. It was the strongest tailed beast. These were mortal men. The 5-tailed Minma threw back his head and opened his mouth. Chakra compressed. Black and white. Positive and negative. A sphere formed. Small at first, then growing, then stabilizing at the size of a beach ball, dense enough to warp the light around it. Tailed Beast Bomb. The crowd panicked. 20,000 people saw that sphere and understood, on an instinctual level, that if it detonated, there would be no arena, there would be no exam, there would be a crater where 3 city blocks used to be. Minma aimed it straight up, and then the air changed. It did not crack. It did not split. It simply settled, like a room going quiet when someone important walks in. A pressure descended on the arena. Not chakra pressure, not killing intent, something else, something older, something that made the fox's chakra flinch. Everyone looked up. Naruto was standing in the air, not on a platform, not on a wire, standing on nothing, on a yin-yang construct so thin it was invisible, a film of created matter under his feet that existed only because he willed it to. His arms were folded. His expression was completely, utterly, magnificently unimpressed. He looked down at the 5-tailed Minma the way a man looks at a thunderstorm while standing under a solid roof. Pathetic, Naruto said. His voice carried across the entire arena without effort, not amplified by jutsu, but by the simple authority of a person who expected to be heard. A weapon that can't be controlled is trash. You're not even scary, you're just loud. The fox, Kurama, the Nine Tails, the most powerful tailed beast in existence, looked up at Naruto through Minma's eyes, and for the first time in the fight, the fox hesitated, because the fox could feel what Naruto was. The fox knew what Yin-Yang Release meant. The fox remembered the Sage of 6 Paths, because the sage had used the same power to create the tailed beasts themselves. Naruto was carrying the power of God, and he was looking at the fox like it was a stray dog. The tailed beast bomb fired. Minma, or the fox, launched it directly at Naruto. A sphere of annihilation screaming through the air fast enough to compress the sound behind it. Naruto raised one hand. Uzumaki art, spirit barrier. A single seal appeared in the air in front of him. Gold, complex, beautiful. A seal so dense and so intricate that Jiraiya, watching from the stands, stopped breathing because he had never seen calligraphy that advanced, not in the Uzumaki archives, not in the sage's teachings, not anywhere. The tailed beast bomb hit the seal and dissolved, not deflected, not absorbed, not redirected, dissolved. The black and white sphere of compressed annihilation touched the seal and ceased to be. The energy did not go somewhere else. It did not convert to heat or light or force. It stopped existing. It was unmade. 20,000 people watched the most powerful single attack a Jinchuriki could produce simply vanish like it had never been fired. The silence was absolute. The kind of silence that happens when reality itself seems to stutter. Naruto dropped from the air. He fell 20 feet and landed in the center of the arena without a sound. His feet touched the cracked ground and the dust did not stir. He stood between the five-tailed Menma and everyone else, the Jonin, the Anbu, the wounded Hokage, the crying Kushina, the stunned crowd. He stood between the monster and the world, and he was bored. Chains of the underworld. One hand, one seal. Naruto's hand pressed to the ground and the arena floor erupted, black chains. Each link the size of a man's torso, spiked, massive. They tore from the earth like the bones of something ancient being unearthed, and they moved with a purpose that was almost alive. They wrapped around Menma's tails, all five of them, and pulled. The fox roared. The chains tightened. They wrapped around Menma's body, his arms, his legs, his chest. They wrapped around the shell of fox chakra that encased him. They constricted. The chakra suppression was immediate. Each chain link was inscribed with sealing arrays so small they were invisible to the naked eye. Millions of them, each one a masterwork, each one designed to neutralize tailed beast chakra specifically. Naruto had developed this technique for exactly this scenario. He had spent a year on it. He had tested it against B and the 8 tails, refining the suppression array until it could contain even Kurama. The fox's chakra screamed, not metaphorically. The energy itself produced a sound, a shriek of spiritual force being crushed into nothing. The red shell around Menma's body cracked. The tails dissolved one by one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Menma collapsed. The chains held him upright for a moment, then lowered him gently to the ground. Naruto had sealed a cushioning barrier around Menma's body before the technique even activated. A precaution, calculated, precise, the kind of mercy that was also a demonstration. Menma lay on the ground, human again, unconscious, bleeding from 100 small tears where the fox's chakra had ripped through his skin. Breathing, alive. Naruto stood over him. The arena was silent. 20,000 people. Not one of them was breathing. Minato limped through the hole in the arena wall, supported by 2 Anbu. His left arm was splinted hastily. His face was a canvas of emotions, pain, shock, pride, shame, confusion, hope. He looked at Naruto, at his eldest son, standing over the unconscious body of his youngest, having just done what the 4th Hokage could not. Kushina ran. She ran across the arena floor, her chains dragging behind her like a bridal train, tears streaming down her face, and she stopped 6 feet from Naruto because something in his posture, something in the way he stood, the way his eyes did not soften, the way his body language said nothing has changed, made her stop. Naruto, she said, her voice broke on the word. Naruto, you saved him. You. Thank you, thank you. I stopped a weapon from destroying Kono's exam, Naruto said. His voice was flat, empty, correct. That is not love. Do not confuse the two. Kushina's knees buckled. She hit the ground, hands in the dirt, sobbing. Naruto looked at her. He looked at her for 3 seconds, the same amount of time he had stood in the hallway of the Namikaze compound 4 years ago, unseen, unnoticed. 3 seconds, an eternity and nothing. He looked away. Minato said, "Oh, son, I am not your son," Naruto said. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. "I am a shinobi of Kumagakure. Address me by my rank or not at all." Minato looked like a man who had just been stabbed and was only now looking down at the blade. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Naruto had already turned away. He looked at the stands, at the crowd, at the sea of faces, shocked, awed, terrified, inspired. He found specific faces. Kakashi, whose single visible eye was wide. Guy, who was clutching the railing. Jiraiya, the great Toad Sage, the legendary Sannin, the man who had written the prophecy of the Child of Destiny, standing in the upper section with his notebook forgotten in his hand and his mouth hanging open. Naruto looked directly at Jiraiya. "The child of prophecy," Naruto said. He almost smiled. Almost. A ghost of amusement flickered across his face and vanished. "Your prophecy says a child of Minato will bring peace or destruction to the world. You assumed it was Minma. You were wrong. But don't worry, your prophecy is broken anyway. Mito is a girl, old man. Your binary doesn't hold." He paused. "And I am not interested in destinies written by someone else." Jiraiya's notebook fell from his hand. It hit the concrete and the sound was very loud in the silence. Naruto looked at the sky. Clear. Blue. The sun was directly overhead. He looked at the arena. The cracked walls. The destroyed floor. The unconscious Jinchuriki at his feet. The weeping mother on her knees. The broken Hokage leaning on his anbu. The 20,000 spectators holding their breath. He pressed both hands together. His left hand ignited. Black. Pure yin. Spiritual energy condensed into absence, into the space between things, into the concept of nothing given form. It looked like a hole in reality, a sphere of absolute darkness that swallowed light. His right hand ignited. White. Pure yang. Physical energy burning like a star, like a sun compressed into a human palm, life and creation and force radiating outward in waves that made the air shimmer and the ground crack. He brought them together. The air warped. Not metaphorically. The space around Naruto's clasped hands bent, light curved, sound distorted. The ground beneath his feet vaporized, not broke, not cracked, vaporized, sublimated from solid to gas in an instant. A sphere formed between his palms, small, the size of a marble, black and white swirling together, yin and yang, creation and destruction. The fundamental forces of existence compressed into a single point. Every sensor-type ninja in the arena screamed simultaneously, not from pain, from overload. The energy reading was off every scale. It was not chakra. It was not nature energy. It was not sage mode. It was not tailed beast power. It was something else. Something that registered on their senses as wrong, as impossible, as does not exist. Every jonin in the arena reached for their weapons. Kakashi's hand went to his headband, the one covering the Sharingan. Guy's skin flushed red, the gates beginning to open. Minato's hand went to his kunai pouch, reaching for a flying thunder god marker on pure instinct. None of them moved fast enough. Naruto looked up. He looked at the Kage box. He looked at the stands. He looked at the world. Secret art, Nagasaki. He dropped it. The marble-sized sphere fell from his hands. It hit the arena floor. It touched the ground. The explosion did not produce fire. It produced light. A column of white. Pure. Blinding, rising from the center of the arena straight into the sky like a pillar holding up heaven. It expanded, not outward like an explosion, but in every direction simultaneously, a sphere of force that was not heat and was not pressure and was not wind. It was existence itself rewriting the local area. The arena floor vaporized, the walls shattered, not cracked, shattered, every molecule separating from every other molecule simultaneously. The stands trembled. The barrier seals that the Anbu had deployed around the perimeter flared and held for exactly 1.2 seconds and then failed, overwhelmed by energy that was not chakra, and that seals designed to contain chakra could not stop. The dome of light expanded, 50 meters in diameter, 100. The stadium, the entire exam stadium, a structure that had stood for 60 years and survived wars and invasions, and the Nine Tails attack itself, shook on its foundations. The walls blew outward. The roof disintegrated. Then the mushroom cloud, white, not gray, not black, white. A column of pure light rising into the atmosphere, spreading at the top into a dome that blotted out the sun. The shockwave flattened everything in a 200-meter radius, not destroyed, flattened. Trees, walls, training grounds. The shockwave rolled outward through the village, knocking people off their feet 3 blocks away, rattling windows 6 blocks away, audible 10 blocks away. The sound hit last. Not a boom, a crack. The sound of reality breaking and reforming. A sound that every person in Konagakure heard, and that people in the nearest border towns heard, and that the Raikage, sitting in his office in Kumogakure, felt in his bones through a seal-linked monitoring array that Naruto himself had built. The Raikage looked at the reading. He looked at his desk. He laughed. In the ruins of the arena, because there was no arena anymore, there was a crater, a perfectly circular crater, 200 meters in diameter and 30 meters deep. The edges smooth as glass, the bottom radiating heat that was not heat, the The dust began to settle. Naruto stood in the center. He was untouched. His clothes were clean. His hair was in place. His breathing was normal. He stood in the exact center of the crater he had just created, arms at his sides, and he looked the way he always looked, calm, flat, present. Around the edges of the crater, scattered across the ruins of the stadium, people began to move. The Anbu barriers had held long enough to prevent casualties, barely. The Jonin had grabbed civilians. Minato's Anbu had shielded the Kage box. Nobody was dead. Nobody was dead because Naruto had controlled the blast. He had controlled every aspect of it. The radius, precisely calibrated to destroy the arena and nothing beyond the outer walls. The force, enough to flatten structures, not enough to kill. The timing, he had sealed a barrier around Menma's unconscious body before he even pressed his palms together. Menma lay in the crater, unharmed, inside a bubble of golden light. This was not a demonstration of destruction. This was a demonstration of control. The message was not, I can destroy everything. The message was, I can destroy exactly what I want and protect exactly what I want, and there is nothing you can do about either. Dust settled. Silence reigned. Then the reactions hit. 20,000 people scattered across the ruins began to understand what they had just witnessed. The murmur started at the edges, confused, terrified, awed, and built toward the center like a wave. In the rubble of the Kage box, the Kazekage, who was absolutely Orochimaru in disguise, and who had been planning to invade Konoha during the chaos of the exams, looked at the crater and quietly, without ceremony, canceled the invasion. He turned to his Anbu escort and said one word, leave. They left. The sound and sand forces that had been positioning for an attack melted away into the shadows like water into sand. Nobody noticed. Everybody was looking at the crater. Kakashi stood at the edge, his Sharingan exposed, both eyes wide. He had copied thousands of techniques. He had seen A-rank jutsu and S-rank jutsu and forbidden techniques that should not exist. He had never seen anything like this. His Sharingan could not copy it. His Sharingan could not even comprehend it. The energy was not chakra. There was nothing to copy. This is impossible, he said. Guy stood next to him. The green beast of Konoha, the man who could open 8 gates, who had once been told by Madara Uchiha himself that he was the strongest taijutsu fighter alive. Guy looked at the crater and his usual exuberance was gone. In its place was something quieter, something like reverence. That young man, Guy said softly, is beyond anything I have ever seen. His flames of youth? No, this is not youth. This is something else. Jiraiya sat on a piece of rubble, his legs splayed, his notebook gone, his face slack. The Toad Sage, the man who had trained the 4th Hokage, the man who had traveled the world and written the prophecy and believed, truly believed, that he understood the shape of the future. He did not understand anything. Tsunade, who was in the crowd, visiting Konoha for the first time in years, drawn by rumors of the exams, gripped Shizune's shoulder so hard the younger woman winced. Shizune, Tsunade said. What the hell was that? I don't know, Lady Tsunade. My instruments are reading 0 chakra output. Whatever that was, it wasn't chakra. Not chakra? Then what? I don't know. Hiyashi Hyuga stood in the ruins of the Hyuga section, his Byakugan active, staring at Naruto. He could see the boy in the center of the crater. He could see nothing, the same nothing Neji had seen, the absence of a chakra network, the presence of something else. Elders, Hiyashi said, his voice barely a whisper, we need to leave. Now. The clan secrets are already exposed. We need to leave before that boy decides to expose more. In the civilian sections, cameras were clicking. Reporters were scribbling. A merchant from the land of fire was dictating a message to a hawk that would carry the news to the capital by morning. A spy from Iwagakure had already begun his report, his hands trembling so badly the brushstrokes were nearly illegible. In one corner of the ruins, Sasuke Uchiha sat with his back against a piece of collapsed wall. His Sharingan was still active. He had recorded everything. The fight with Neji, the suppression of the fox, the technique, the Nagasaki. He played it back in his mind. He could not reproduce it. He could not even understand it. The Sharingan, the copy wheel eye, the dojutsu that could steal any technique, met its limit, and the limit's name was Naruto Uzumaki. Sasuke felt something he had not felt since the night Itachi killed the clan. Smallness. Sakura was beside him, pulling at his arm, asking if he was okay. He barely heard her. He was staring at the crater. Shikamaru lay flat on his back in the dirt, staring at the sky through the hole in the stadium roof. His genius-level mind was processing what he had seen, running the calculations, assessing the threat level. "Hey, Choji," he said. Choji, next to him, was eating chips. Stress eating. His hands were shaking, but the chips kept going in. "Yeah? We should never ever make that guy angry." Agreed. Hinata Hyuga sat in the stands, what remained of them, and her eyes were not on the crater. They were on Menma, on the unconscious boy in the golden bubble. On the boy she had been ordered to betray. The boy she had hurt without meaning to. The boy she had loved first and best and had been told to stop loving for the good of the village. Tears ran down her cheeks, and in the center of the crater, Naruto waited. He waited until the dust settled. He waited until the murmur peaked. He waited until every eye that was going to find him had found him. Then he looked at his parents. Minato had made it to the edge of the crater. He was barely standing. His left arm was useless. His robes were torn. His hat was gone. He looked down at his eldest son, standing in the center of a wound in the earth that was deeper and wider than anything the Nine Tails had carved during its attack 16 years ago. Kushina was beside him, held up by two Ambu. Her face was a ruin of tears and dirt and something that looked like madness. She was reaching for Naruto. Reaching, the way she never had when it mattered. "Naruto," Minato said, his voice cracked. The Hokage's voice cracked. "Naruto, please, come home." "Home," Naruto said. He tasted the word. "I had a home once. Cold room. Bad window. You didn't notice. I had a birthday once. Same day as the Fox Festival. You didn't remember. I had a name once. You didn't use it." He looked at Kushina. "You sent me a card when I was in the hospital, after my chakra system collapsed and I nearly died. You sent a card. You didn't come. You braided Mito's hair instead." Kushina's legs gave out. The Ambu caught her. She was shaking. "I stood in your hallway for 3 minutes the night I left," Naruto said. "Both of you were in the next room. Neither of you looked up. 3 minutes. I counted." He paused. "You were not cruel. You were nothing special, and nothing is worse." He let that sit. He let it settle into them like a blade between the ribs, slow, deep, the kind of wound that does not bleed outward but fills the chest cavity and drowns you from the inside. Then he spat on the ground in front of them. Not on them, in front of them. A distinction, a choice. Because even now, even after everything, Naruto Uzumaki did not waste energy on cruelty. He spent it on precision. He turned his back. He looked at the competitor's box. What remained of it? Samwai was standing at the edge, arms crossed, face unreadable. Karui was gripping the railing, vibrating with tension. Omoi had his sword drawn and was muttering about worst-case scenarios. Darui was smiling. "We're done here," Naruto said. He walked. He walked across the crater floor. He walked up the slope of the crater wall. He walked through the ruins of the stadium. He walked into the street. His team fell in behind him. Samui at his right shoulder, Karui at his left, Omoi bringing up the rear. Darui walked beside Naruto with his hands in his pockets. The people of Konoha lined the streets, not because they had been ordered to, because the explosion had drawn them out, and now they saw the Kumo team walking through their village. And at the front was a boy with blonde hair and blue eyes and a silver headband, and they knew who he was. Everyone knew who he was now. Nobody spoke. Nobody tried to stop them. Naruto walked north, through the market district, past the Hokage monument, 4 faces carved into the mountain, the 4th one his father's. He did not look up at it. Past the gate where Izumo and Kotetsu stood with their mouths open, through the gate, onto the road. He walked. Behind him, Konoha smoldered. Not literally. The fires were under control, the casualties were 0, the damage was structural. But something else was burning. The certainty that the Hidden Leaf was the strongest village. The belief that the Hokage was the most powerful man alive. The assumption that the Nine Tails Jinchuriki was the ultimate weapon. All of it was ash now. Naruto had burned it all in a single afternoon, and he had done it wearing a Kumo headband, and that was the part that would hurt the most. Not that he was powerful and he belonged to someone else. That the leaf had him and lost him and didn't even realize what they had until he came back and showed them. That was the cruelty, not the explosion, not the humiliation. The proof that Konoha had let the most powerful shinobi in the world slip through its fingers because they could not be bothered to remember his name. Behind him, in the ruins of the arena, Menma woke up. The golden barrier was fading. The chains were gone. Menma lay on the ground and blinked up at the sky, visible now because there was no roof anymore. And he felt the absence of the fox's chakra like a missing limb. The beast was still there, sealed inside him, but it was quiet, suppressed, beaten into submission by chains that had been stronger than anything Kurama had ever felt. Menma sat up. He looked around. He saw the crater. He saw the ruins. He saw his parents at the edge, his mother on the ground, his father barely standing. He saw the road leading north. He saw his brother walking away, getting smaller, not looking back. Naruto, Menma whispered. But his brother was gone. And Menma understood now. He understood everything. The words from 4 years ago, the scroll, Hinata, the smile that wasn't a smile, the cold room, the card from the hospital, all of it. Every piece of a puzzle he had been too loved, too handled, too managed, too carefully maintained as a weapon to see clearly. His brother had been right about everything. And Menma did not know if that made Naruto the villain of this story or the only person who had ever told him the truth. He suspected it was both. He suspected the world was not built for clean answers, and that his brother had always known that, and that the knowledge had not made him kind. He lay back down in the dirt and stared at the sky and let the tears come, because there was nobody watching now. And because for the first time in 16 years, the container was cracking and it was not the fox leaking out, it was the boy. On the road north, Naruto walked. Samui fell into step beside him. That was dramatic. It was calculated. Those are not mutually exclusive. She paused. Your mother was a stranger. She was crying. People cry for many reasons. Guilt is one. Samui looked at him for a long moment. Her cool exterior wavered, just barely, just enough for someone who had known her for 4 years to notice. Naruto. Are you all right? He kept walking, 12 steps, 13, 14. I am what they made me, he said, and I am what I made myself. Karui, behind them, rubbed her eyes. She would deny it later. She would say it was dust from the explosion. Nobody would believe her. Omai was counting exit strategies. What if Konoha sends Anbu after us? What if they declare war? What if? They won't, Darui said. They just watched that boy delete a stadium. Nobody's chasing us. He was right. Nobody chased them. They walked north. The trees closed behind them. The road narrowed. Konoha disappeared below the horizon. First the buildings, then the monument, then the smoke. Naruto did not look back. He thought about many things. He thought about chains, the ones he had used on Menma, and the ones his mother had never used to hold him. He thought about rooms, cold ones and warm ones, and the difference between them. He thought about prophecies, broken ones, useless ones, the kind that old men wrote to give their lives meaning and young men shattered without trying. He thought about Menma, about the look on his brother's face when the fox's chakra receded, about the boy underneath the monster, bleeding, broken, betrayed. He had done that. He had planted the seed. He had aimed the weapon. He had pulled the trigger. Did he feel guilt? He considered the question the way he considered all questions. Clinically, completely, without sentimentality. No, but he felt something, a vibration, a frequency, something that lived in the space between guilt and satisfaction, between cruelty and honesty. He had told Menma the truth. The truth had destroyed him. That was not Naruto's fault. That was the truth's nature. The truth does not care about your feelings. The truth does not care about anything like Naruto. Or maybe not like Naruto. Maybe Naruto cared about something. About a ramen shop where an old man and his daughter treated him like a person. About a bed he once sat on to say goodbye to a brother who was too young to understand. About a pair of hands pressed together in the mountains outside Kumo. Black and white, creation and destruction. The full weight of the universe balanced in his palms. And the choice, always the choice, to use it or not. He had chosen to use it today. He had chosen to show them. All of them. The village that forgot him. The family that failed him. The world that thought he was nothing. He had shown them everything. And tomorrow, they would wake up in a village with a crater where its stadium used to be. And they would look north. And they would wonder what happens next. Naruto knew what happened next. He always knew. 10 steps ahead. The road to Kumo stretched before him. Long, steep, the mountains rising in the distance, wreathed in lightning storms, dark and cold and beautiful in the way that only dangerous things are beautiful. He walked toward them. He did not look back. He never looked back. And somewhere in the ruins of Konohagakure, in the wreckage of a family, in the silence of a crater that would take months to fill and years to forget, a story was ending. But another one, larger, darker, louder, was just beginning. The elemental nations had a new name to fear. Not a Kage, not a tailed beast. Not a prophecy fulfilled. A boy who ate alone. A ghost who became a god. Naruto Uzumaki. Remember that name. You'll be hearing it again. You heard it sooner than you expected. 3 days. That is how long it took for the name Naruto Uzumaki to travel from the smoking ruin of Konoha's exam stadium to every intelligence desk in every hidden village on the continent. 3 days for the reports to be filed, the hawks to fly, the coded messages to be decoded and recoded and sent up chains of command that stretched from minor outposts to Kaji offices. 3 days for the shape of the shinobi world to shift on its axis, quietly, permanently, the way a fault line moves. You do not feel the earthquake until the buildings start falling. The walk back to Kumogakure took 5. Naruto walked. He did not run. He did not use the body flicker or any form of accelerated travel. He walked at the pace of a man who had nowhere urgent to be, because everywhere he might go was already reacting to what he had done, and there was nothing to rush toward when the shockwave was still expanding behind you. His team walked with him. Samui on his right, half a step back, her posture as composed as a still lake, and her eyes moving constantly, scanning the tree line, the road ahead, the road behind. Karui on his left, 2 steps back, her hand never far from the hilt of her sword, radiating the kind of barely suppressed energy that comes from being a person who processes stress by hitting things and having nothing to hit. Omoi behind them all, muttering. What if Konoha sends a hunter squad? What if they've already sent one? What if there's a team of Anbu in the trees right now, and they're just waiting for us to cross into neutral territory before they make a move? What if they don't send Anbu? What if they send Minato himself? The yellow flash can teleport. He could already be ahead of us. He could be anywhere. What if? Omoi, Darui said from the front, not turning around. What if you shut up? That's also a possibility I've considered. They walked. The first checkpoint came at the border of the land of hot water. A small way station manned by a joint team of neutral territory monitors and a rotating guard from whichever major village currently held the monitoring contract. This month, it was Kirigakure. 2 Kirichunin sat behind a wooden desk under a canvas awning, processing travel documents with the practiced boredom of people who had chosen the least dangerous assignment of and were happy about it. They looked up when the Kumo team approached. They looked at Naruto. One of them, a young woman with blue-gray hair and a Kiri headband that had seen better days, dropped her stamp. Not because she recognized his face, because she recognized his headband and his age and the description that had arrived by Hawk that morning in a sealed message from Kiri's intelligence division. Blonde, blue eyes, Kumo headband, 16, do not engage, do not provoke, file position report immediately. Papers, she said. Her voice was steady, but her hand was not. Darui handed over the team's travel documents. The woman stamped them without reading them. Her partner, a stocky man with a scar through his left eyebrow, was staring at Naruto with an expression that mixed professional curiosity with the kind of primal wariness that humans develop around things they cannot accurately assess as threats. The lizard brain. The part that says something is wrong with this one, even when the conscious mind cannot explain why. You're the team from the exams, the man said. Not a question. We are, Darui said. We heard there was an incident. Darui looked at Naruto. Naruto looked at the Kiri guard with the same flat expression he had worn when he walked through the gate of Konoha. The one that said, I am looking at you because you are in front of me and for no other reason. An incident, Naruto repeated. Is that what they're calling it? The guard swallowed. The reports were unclear. They usually are. The team walked on. Behind them, the Kiri guard immediately began writing a position report with hands that shook slightly. The Hawk was in the air within 4 minutes. The second checkpoint was at the Land of Lightning border. Kumo territory. And here, the atmosphere changed. There were not 2 bored chunin at a desk. There were 12 shinobi, 8 chunin and 4 jonin, a full border security complement that had been reinforced sometime in the last 48 hours. They were in formation, not combat formation, honor formation. 2 lines of 6 flanking the road, standing at attention with their weapons sheathed and their postures rigid and their eyes locked forward. Naruto stopped. He looked at the formation. He looked at Darui. Darui shrugged. Wasn't me. The Raikage, Samui said. The Raikage doesn't do honor guards, Naruto said. He does now. Naruto looked at the 12 shinobi standing at attention for a 16-year-old boy they had never met, and something moved behind his eyes. Not quite surprise, not quite amusement, something adjacent to both but committed to neither. He walked through the formation. The Kumo shinobi tracked him with their eyes but did not break posture. One of them, a jonin with braided hair and the lightning crest tattooed on her cheek, murmured something as he passed. Naruto heard it. His hearing was better than anyone knew. Welcome home, she had said. Home. The word again. That word. The one that meant something different every time someone said it, and never meant exactly what Naruto wanted it to mean. Which was nothing, which was exactly the problem, because wanting a word to mean nothing is still wanting. He kept walking. The messenger hawk arrived an hour past the border. It came from the northeast, from the direction of Kumogakure itself, and it descended in a tight spiral and landed on Darui's outstretched arm with the precision of a bird that had been bred for this exact task across 17 generations. Darui untied the message cylinder. He read the note. He read it again. From A himself, Darui said. He handed it to Naruto. The message was written in the Raikage's handwriting, blunt, heavy strokes, the calligraphy of a man who viewed a brush the same way he viewed a fist, as a tool for making impact. Come home. We need to talk. 5 words. No pleasantries, no praise, no explanation. That was what Naruto respected about the Raikage. Did not waste language on decoration. He said what he meant, and he meant what he said, and the gap between the two was 0. Naruto burned the note with a flick of yang energy. A tiny pulse of creation force applied to the paper's molecular structure, accelerating its oxidation until it flashed white and vanished. No ash, no smoke, just gone. We pick up the pace, he said. They picked up the pace. That evening, they camped in a clearing in the mountains north of the border. Karui built a fire. Omoi set perimeter traps. Standard wire-triggered flash tags. Nothing that would stop a serious attacker, but enough to give warning. Darui leaned against a tree and closed his eyes and was asleep within 90 seconds, which was a skill he had developed during the Third War and never lost. Naruto sat on a flat rock at the edge of the clearing, facing south, facing the direction they had come from. He did not eat. He was not hungry. Hunger was a signal his body sent when it needed fuel, and his body had not needed fuel in the conventional sense for years. The Yin-Yang Release sustained him at a cellular level. His organs regenerated continuously. His muscles rebuilt themselves without rest. His brain chemistry self-regulated. He could eat. He chose to eat. But he did not need to. And on nights like this, when his mind was processing at full capacity, he preferred the clarity of an empty stomach. He was thinking. He was always thinking. But tonight, the thoughts had a different texture. Less analytical. More architectural. He was building something in his mind, a structure, a plan, a sequence of events that stretched months into the future and branched into dozens of possible outcomes. He was running probability chains. He was modeling the behavior of every major player he had identified. The Raikage, the Hokage, the Kazekage who was not the Kazekage, the Mizukage, the Tsuchikage, the Akatsuki, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Danzo, the feudal lords, the trade networks, the intelligence services, the weapon contractors, the civilian populations. Every variable, every angle, every pressure point. He was playing chess with the world, and most of the pieces did not know they were on the board. Samui appeared beside him. She moved quietly, not silently, because she could move silently and chose not to, which was her way of being polite. She sat on the rock next to him, not close enough to touch, close enough to be present. You haven't eaten, she said. I know. You should eat. I should do many things. She looked at him. Her face was lit by the distant campfire. half in warm light, half in shadow, her expression caught between its default coolness and something else. Something that only appeared when she was alone with him, which was rarely, because Naruto was rarely alone with anyone, and Samui was not the type to seek out solitude with another person unless she had a reason. The checkpoint guard, she said. The honor formation. That's never happened before. No. The Raikage sent them for you specifically. I know. You changed things today, not just at the exam, here, in Kumo. The way people look at you will be different now. It was always going to be different. Today just accelerated the timeline. She was quiet for a moment. The fire crackled. Somewhere in the trees, an owl asked its question and received no answer. What are you going to do with it? She asked. With what? The attention, the power, She searched for the word. The weight. Naruto looked at her. He looked at her the way he looked at very few things, directly, fully, with the entirety of his attention. Samui had earned that. Not through proximity, not through loyalty, though she had both. She had earned it by being the only person in 4 years who had never asked him to be anything other than what he was. She did not try to warm him. She did not try to fix him. She stood in the cold with him and did not complain about the temperature. I am going to use it, he said. The same way I use everything. Precisely. That's not what I asked. I know. I asked what you're going to do with it, not how. He was quiet for a long time, not because he did not have an answer, because the answer he had was not the one he would give to anyone else, and he was deciding whether Samui was anyone else. I am going to make sure, he said slowly, that what happened to me does not happen to anyone else. Not because I am altruistic, because waste offends me. A child left to grow in silence becomes either a weapon or a wound. I became both. The world cannot afford that coin flip on a regular basis. Samui looked at him for a long time after that, long enough that if she had been anyone else, Naruto would have looked away. He did not. That's the closest thing to kindness I've ever heard you say, she said. Don't get used to it. I wouldn't dream of it. Her mouth did something. Not quite a smile. Not quite not a smile. The Samui equivalent of a standing ovation. Behind them, by the fire, Karui was sitting cross-legged with her arms folded and her face twisted into an expression that suggested she was watching something she did not approve of, but could not stop. They're doing it again, she said to Omoi. The thing where they talk quietly on a rock and pretend they're not, doing whatever that is. Omoi looked over. What if they get together? What if it changes the team dynamic? What if Naruto becomes distracted and his performance drops and the Raikage blames us and... Omoi, I swear on every sword in Kumo, if you finish that sentence, I will throw you off this mountain. What if you miss? I won't miss. Darui, who was supposed to be asleep, smiled without opening his eyes. They reached Kumogakure on the 5th day. The village was carved into the mountains themselves, a fortress city built vertically, its towers and buildings stacked against the cliff faces like barnacles on a ship's hull, connected by bridges and stairways and cable systems that swayed in the constant mountain wind. Lightning storms wreathed the peaks above. The air was thin and cold and tasted like ozone. It was not a beautiful place in the way Konoha was beautiful. Lush and green and warm. It was beautiful the way a blade is beautiful. Functional, sharp, dangerous. Naruto had lived here for 4 years. He knew every street, every building, every tunnel, and rooftop and hidden passage. He knew the village's defensive network because he had rewritten it. He knew its people because he had trained alongside them and fought beside them and earned their respect in the only currency Kumo recognized, which was strength. He walked through the main gate. The gate guards saluted. Not the casual wave that Konoha's guards gave, a full military salute. Fist to chest, the Kumo standard. Naruto nodded. He did not salute back. He had never adopted the gesture, and nobody had forced him to, because the things Naruto Uzumaki did not want to do had a way of staying undone. The streets were busy. Market day. Vendors selling mountain fish and lightning-forged steel and the thickest dark bread that was a Kumo staple. People glanced at Naruto as he passed. Some nodded, some murmured to each other. A few children pointed. He walked to the Raikage Tower. The tower was the tallest structure in the village, a column of stone and steel that rose from the center of the city like a raised fist. The Raikage's office was at the top. Naruto took the stairs. He always took the stairs. Elevators were boxes you could be trapped in, and Naruto did not allow himself to be placed in boxes. Not anymore. He reached the top floor. The door to the office was open. Not ajar, open all the way. The Raikage's door was never open. It was always closed, guarded by 2 ambu, and you knocked and waited, and were admitted or turned away depending on A's mood and your importance. The door was open because A wanted Naruto to know he was expected. Naruto walked in. The Raikage's office was not an office. It was a war room. The desk was there, yes, massive, iron-banded, covered in scrolls and maps and message cylinders. But the dominant feature was the tactical table in the center of the room, a slab of mountain stone inscribed with a map of the elemental nations that was updated daily by Kumo's intelligence division. Colored markers indicated troop positions, political alliances, trade routes, and threat assessments. It was the Raikage's chessboard, and he stood over it, the way a general stands over a battlefield. I looked up when Naruto entered. The 4th Raikage was not a man who diminished with familiarity. Every time Naruto saw him, he was struck by the same thing, the sheer physical presence. 6'5", 300 pounds, arms like tree trunks, one of them wrapped in bandages that hid scars from a lifetime of combat. A face carved from dark stone, with eyes that calculated threat levels the way other people calculated grocery lists. He was wearing his Kage robes, but they did not soften him. They made him look like a mountain someone had tried to dress up. Sit, I said. There was one chair on Naruto's side of the tactical table. It was not a comfortable chair. Kumo did not believe in comfortable chairs. Naruto sat. I stared at him for a long moment, the kind of stare that most people found unbearable. The weight of the Raikage's full attention was a physical thing, a pressure, the concentrated killing intent of a man who had fought in 2 wars and survived both by being the most dangerous person in the room. Naruto met the stare. He always met the stare. I felt the pulse, I said, through the seal link. 73 minutes after you activated the technique. The reading was unusual. Unusual how? The monitoring array could not categorize it. It registered as a seismic event, an atmospheric anomaly, and a chakra spike simultaneously. My intelligence division spent 14 hours trying to reconcile the data before they gave up and wrote unknown phenomenon in the report. A's jaw tightened. I do not like unknown phenomena in my reports. I erased the stadium, Naruto said. In a controlled demonstration, 0 casualties, the technique performed as designed. You erased the stadium in the middle of the most heavily attended international event of the year, in front of representatives from every major village, while wearing my headband. Yes! That is either the greatest intelligence coup in Kumo's history, or the most reckless diplomatic act since the Third War. It is both. I stared at him again. Longer this time. Naruto could see the calculations running behind those dark eyes. The strategic implications, the political fallout, the opportunities and the risks, the ways this could be leveraged and the ways it could explode. Then the Raikage laughed. Same laugh as 4 years ago. Big, real, from the belly. It shook the tactical table and rattled the markers and made the 2 ambu hidden in the wall shift uncomfortably. You magnificent bastard, I said. Every village on the continent is scrambling. The Mizukage sent a message within 6 hours of the event. 6 hours, which means she had an intelligence operative in the stands who transmitted in real time. She wants to open diplomatic talks. Specifically, she wants to know if you're available for a joint training exercise, which is Kiri speak for, can we borrow your weapon? Iwa's intelligence division filed a full threat assessment on you by the next morning. I have a copy, courtesy of a source inside their analysis bureau. They classified you as an S-rank threat. Individual, not team. Individual. You are 16 years old and Iwagakure considers you a one-man strategic asset on par with the tailed beast. He leaned forward. Suna wants to open diplomatic talks too. Their Kazekage is dead, by the way. The man at the exams was Orochimaru in disguise. The real Kazekage's body was found in a ditch outside Wind Country 2 days ago. Suna is in chaos. They need allies. They're looking at us. Naruto filed that. Orochimaru. He had suspected. The chakra signature in the Kaji box had been wrong. A shade too complex, too layered. He had not acted on it because Orochimaru's presence was not his problem, and because the snake seinen had clearly been planning something that Naruto's demonstration had disrupted. The canceled invasion, the forces that melted away. Naruto had felt them withdrawing during the aftermath. Hundreds of foreign shinobi positioned for an assault, suddenly reversing course. He had prevented an invasion of Konoha by accident, or rather by collateral effect. He had not done it for Konoha. He had done it because blowing up a stadium tends to recalibrate everyone's priorities. And then there is Orochimaru, continued, his voice dropping. He has gone quiet, no activity from his networks, no movement from his bases, nothing. Orochimaru going quiet is worse than Orochimaru being loud. It means he is thinking. It means he saw what you did and he is recalculating. He is, Naruto said. He will make contact. Soon. You sound certain. I am. Leaned back. He crossed his massive arms. Which brings me to the reason I called you back personally instead of through the standard chain of command. He reached under the tactical table and produced a scroll. He placed it in front of Naruto. It was sealed with the Raikage's personal seal, not the village seal, the personal one, the one used for documents that existed outside official records. You are not a chunin, A said. You were never going to be a chunin. The chunin exams were a showcase, not an evaluation. I already knew what you were before you stepped into that arena. What I needed was for everyone else to know. He tapped the scroll. This is a designation that has not been used in the shinobi world in 200 years. The last person to hold it was a Kumo operative during the Warring States period. A man whose name was struck from the records because his missions were so classified that acknowledging his existence would have constituted a security breach. Naruto looked at the scroll. He did not open it. The designation is Shadow of the Raikage, said. Full operational autonomy, no rank, no chain of command except me, no mission parameters except success. You choose your targets, you choose your methods, you choose your timeline. I point you at a problem and you solve it, and how you solve it is between you and whatever god you believe in. Naruto looked at the Raikage. One condition, Naruto said. A's eyebrow rose. You're bargaining? I am setting terms. There is a difference. I accept the designation. I accept the autonomy, but I set my own terms of engagement. If I determine that a mission conflicts with my judgment, I reserve the right to refuse or modify without explanation. That is not how military structures work. I am not a military structure. I am a person you cannot afford to lose, operating at a level you cannot replace. You know this. I know this. The question is whether you respect it. I stared at him. The office was very quiet. The Anbu and the walls were holding their breath. You have the biggest balls of anyone I have ever met, the Raikage said. And I fought the third Hokage. Is that a yes? That is a yes, you arrogant little. The door to the office banged open. Yo, check it! The prodigy's back in the village, and the Raikage's mad, but he's still gonna acknowledge. The kid dropped a son on Konoha's ground. Way! And now the whole world's trembling at the sound. Killer Bee stood in the doorway. 6'2", dark-skinned, sunglasses indoors, 7 swords strapped to his back in an arrangement that defied both physics and taste. He was grinning with every tooth he had. His right hand was making a gesture that was either a peace sign or a gang sign or both, pinched the bridge of his nose. B, I am in the middle of. You're in the middle of what? A boring conversation? Nah, bro. The kid just showed the world what Kumo's got, and you're in here talking contracts when you should be celebrating. Yeah. Naruto looked at Killer B. He looked at him the way he always looked at B, with the specific, targeted exasperation of a person who cannot decide whether the man in front of him is a genius disguised as an idiot or an idiot who has somehow weaponized being ridiculous. Your rhymes, Naruto said, have not improved. B pointed at him. His grin widened. But you still listening. That's a W, little Uzumaki. That's a whole W. Naruto's mouth twitched, the ghost, the fraction, the thing that only B could produce, because B had been the first person to ever make Naruto laugh, and the muscle memory of that had never fully disappeared, aside. It was the sigh of a man who had been sighing at his brother for 30 years and had accepted that the sighing would never stop. B, out. I ain't going nowhere. This is a historic moment. My student just became the shadow of the Raikage, and I'm gonna... How do you know about the shadow designation? That scroll is classified above your clearance level. B paused. He tapped his sunglasses. 80 told me. The Eight Tails told you about a classified Kumo military designation? Juki knows everything, bro. Biju memory goes back thousands of years. He says the last shadow was a real one, cold as ice, fast as lightning, disappeared whole armies. Sound familiar? He looked at Naruto. Naruto looked back. Something passed between them. Teacher and student, Jinchuriki and the boy who could chain-tailed beasts, the man who had taught Naruto to laugh, and the boy who had given B a reason to teach. I'm proud of you, kid, B said. No rap, no rhyme, just the words, delivered with the simple sincerity of a man who had been a weapon his entire life and recognized when a weapon became something more. Naruto was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Thank you, B-sensei. B's sunglasses could not hide the fact that his eyes were wet. He would deny it later. He would say it was allergies. Nobody would believe him. Nobody believed Karui either. The designation was formalized within the hour. No ceremony, no announcement. The scroll was signed, sealed, and placed in a vault that contained fewer than 30 documents, all of which were so classified that reading them without authorization was punishable by something worse than death, which in Kumo meant being assigned to border patrol in the northern mountains during lightning season. Naruto left the Raikage Tower. He walked through the village. He went to his apartment, a small, clean space on the 7th floor of a building near the training grounds. One room, one window, a desk, a bed, a bookshelf containing scrolls organized by subject in an order that made sense only to him. It was not a warm room, but the window closed properly, and that mattered more than anyone who had not slept with the wind coming through would ever understand. He sat at his desk. He opened a scroll. He began to write, and 2 days later, Orochimaru came. Not by messenger, not by summon, not by any of the covert channels that the intelligence communities of the world use to communicate across borders. Orochimaru came himself, alone, in person, to the middle of Kumogakure's market district in broad daylight on a Tuesday. He was sitting at a ramen stall, not just any ramen stall, the specific one that Naruto frequented, the one run by a retired Kumo chunin named Taro, who made a pork broth that was the only thing in Lightning Country that came close to Ichiraku's. Orochimaru was sitting on a stool, holding chopsticks with the delicate precision of a man who had dissected human bodies with those same fingers, and he was eating miso ramen and reading a newspaper as if he were the most ordinary person in the world. He was not. Orochimaru of the Sannin, the snake, the traitor, the man who had been expelled from Konoha for human experimentation, who had founded the Hidden Sound Village, who had murdered the third Kazekage and worn his face like a mask, who had planned an invasion of Konoha that he had canceled because a 16-year-old boy had dropped a miniature sun on the exam stadium and rewritten his cost-benefit analysis in real time. He was eating ramen. Naruto felt him the moment he entered the village. Not his chakra. Orochimaru's chakra suppression was masterful, decades of practice, the kind of stealth that fooled Anbu and Kage-level sensors alike. Naruto did not feel chakra. Naruto felt existence. He felt the molecular composition of every living thing within his range, and Orochimaru's body was wrong. Too many modifications, too many grafted tissues, too many biological anomalies stacked on top of each other like a tower of lies. He stood out in Naruto's perception the way a tumor stands out on a scan, unmistakable once you knew what you were looking at. Naruto went to the ramen stall. He sat down on the stool next to Orochimaru. He ordered pork ramen. Taro, behind the counter, looked at his two customers and felt something crawl up his spine that he could not name but obeyed instinctively. He made the ramen. He did not make conversation. They ate in silence for 90 seconds. Orochimaru finished first. He set his chopsticks down on the rim of the bowl with geometric precision, parallel, centered, exactly 4 millimeters apart. The gesture of a man for whom order was not a preference but a compulsion. Miso, Orochimaru said, adequate. The broth lacks the depth of the Ichiraku recipe, but the noodle texture is superior, a fair trade. Naruto said nothing. He ate his ramen. You are wondering, Orochimaru continued, how I entered Kumo undetected. The answer is that I did not. Your barrier network, your redesigned barrier network, the one you rebuilt from scratch 3 years ago, flagged me immediately. I know this because I designed the detection algorithm you modified 27 years ago when I was briefly contracted by the Second Raikage to consult on perimeter security. You improved it significantly, but the foundational architecture is mine and I know its tolerances. Naruto ate his ramen. You are also wondering why I came myself instead of sending an intermediary. The answer is simpler. Intermediaries lie. Not always intentionally. They edit, they soften, they inject their own biases into the message. I have something to discuss with you that cannot survive the distortion of a middleman. Naruto finished his ramen. He set his own chopsticks down. He looked at Orochimaru. The snake seinen was, and there was no other word for it, beautiful. Not in the conventional sense, in the way that a perfectly engineered virus is beautiful. His features were sharp, androgynous, ageless. His skin was pale to the point of translucence. His eyes were yellow, slitted, with vertical pupils that contracted and dilated in patterns that did not correspond to the ambient light. He looked like something that had been human once and had decided deliberately to become something else. You are not here for my body, Naruto said. It was not a question. Orochimaru smiled. It was a real smile, not warm, not friendly, but real. The smile of a man who had been correctly assessed and appreciated the accuracy. No, I abandoned that particular ambition after your demonstration. What you possess cannot be transferred through possession. Yin-Yang Release is not a technique or a bloodline. It is a state of being. Transplanting it would require transplanting your entire existential framework, which is, even by my standards, impractical. Then what? I want a research partnership. Naruto looked at him. He did not react visibly, but inside the architecture of his mind, a flag went up. Not a warning flag, an interest flag. Orochimaru was many things. A monster, a genius, a man who had committed atrocities that would fill volumes. But he was also, without question, the most knowledgeable individual alive regarding the forbidden corners of the shinobi world's history. He had spent 50 years digging in places no one else dared to dig, and he had found things that no one else knew existed. Explain, Naruto said. Orochimaru's smile widened. He reached into his sleeve, slowly, deliberately, showing his hands at all times, because he was sitting next to a person who could unmake him at the molecular level, and he was not stupid, and produced a scroll. He placed it on the counter between them. I have been studying the Yin-Yang Release for 30 years, Orochimaru said. Not to acquire it, I recognized early that it was beyond my capacity to replicate. I studied it to understand it. The theoretical framework, the historical precedents, the connection to the Sage of Six Paths and the original creation mythology. He tapped the scroll. In the course of that study, I discovered something, a location, a sealed vault beneath the ruins of Uzushigakure, your ancestral homeland, the village of the Uzumaki clan. The vault predates the founding of the hidden villages. It predates the sages' recorded teachings. It contains a stone tablet inscribed in the original Uzumaki language. Not the cipher they used for Fuinjutsu, but the true language, the one that was spoken when the clan was not a clan but a people, and not just a people but the people, the first chakra-using civilization. Naruto did not move, but something shifted inside him, a resonance, a vibration at a frequency he had never felt before, but recognized the way you recognize a word in a language you did not know you spoke. The tablet describes Yin-Yang Release, Orochimaru continued, not as a technique, as a birthright, the Uzumaki clan's deepest, oldest secret. The reason they were truly destroyed, not for their sealing arts, which were formidable, but for what the sealing arts were designed to protect, the knowledge of what their bloodline could actually produce in the right vessel, under the right conditions. He looked at Naruto with an intensity that was almost physical. You are that vessel, and you do not yet know what you are carrying. Naruto was quiet for a long time. The market noise around them filled the silence. Vendors calling, children laughing, the clink of coins and the sizzle of street food. Normal sounds, human sounds. The background noise of a world that did not know two of the most dangerous people alive were sitting 3 feet apart at a noodle counter discussing the fundamental nature of reality. What do you want in return? Naruto said. Access. To the tablet. To the vault. I want to see it. I want to study it. I want to add what it contains to my understanding of the world, because understanding the world is the only ambition I have left that has not been satisfied or abandoned. And you're telling me this because you cannot access the vault yourself. Correct. The seals respond to Uzumaki blood. I have tried. I have failed. The vault is warded by something that I now believe is yin-yang based, which means it is fundamentally beyond my capacity to break, replicate, or circumvent. You need me. I need you. It was an admission that cost Orochimaru something. Naruto could see it in the micro-tension around his jaw, the slight narrowing of those yellow eyes. Orochimaru did not need people. He used people. He discarded people. Admitting need was, for a man like him, the equivalent of opening a vein. Naruto considered. He ran the calculations. The risks were obvious. Orochimaru was untrustworthy by nature, by history, by every metric that existed. Anything he offered could be a trap, a manipulation, a long game designed to achieve an objective Naruto could not yet see. But the information was real. Naruto could feel it in the resonance. The way the mention of the vault and the tablet produced a response in his Yin-Yang Release that was not intellectual but cellular. Something inside him recognized what Orochimaru was describing, something older than his conscious mind. I will think about it, Naruto said. Orochimaru inclined his head. I expected nothing less. He stood. He adjusted his sleeves. He looked at Naruto one last time. You know what I am, Orochimaru said. I have not pretended otherwise. I am a monster. But I am a monster who appreciates art. And you, Naruto Uzumaki, are the most extraordinary work of art the shinobi world has produced in 1,000 years. He left. He walked into the crowd and disappeared with the ease of a snake sliding into grass. Taro, the ramen vendor, stood behind his counter with a ladle in one hand and a rag in the other, and a face the color of old paper. He looked at Naruto. Was that who I think it was? Yes, Orochimaru of the Sannin just ate ramen at my stall. Yes. Am I going to die? No. Naruto reached into his pouch and placed money on the counter. Enough for both bowls. Your ramen is good, Taro. Taro stared at the money. He stared at Naruto. He decided wisely that there are some things a retired chunin who makes noodles for a living does not need to understand. While Naruto sat in Kumo running probability chains and Orochimaru vanished into the continent's shadows, Konohagakure was tearing itself apart. It happened the way all structural failures happen, not with a single catastrophic break, but with 1,000 small fractures propagating through the material until the load-bearing walls gave out and everything came down at once. Menma was the first fracture. He was in his room. He had been in his room for 6 days. The door was locked. The window was closed. The curtains were drawn. The room, warm, comfortable, the good room, the one with the window that sealed properly, and the bed with the thick blankets and the walls covered with photos and mission commendations, and the accumulated evidence of a life that had been noticed, been valued, been curated, felt like a museum exhibit now. A display case. Here lies the Jinchuriki's childhood, preserved behind glass. He did not eat. The plates Kushina left outside his door went cold and were taken away untouched. He did not train. The training schedule Minato posted on the family bulletin board, 3 sessions a week tailored to maximize the fox's chakra integration, went unacknowledged. He did not respond when Kushina knocked, which she did 8 times a day, her knocks getting softer each time, as if volume was the problem. He sat on the floor. He looked at the ceiling. He looked at his hands. Inside him, the fox stirred, Kurama, the 9-tailed demon fox, the most powerful tailed beast, the creature that had been sealed inside Menma on the day of his birth, that had defined his existence, that had made him valuable and dangerous and important and loved, or whatever the thing his parents felt for him was, which he could no longer accurately categorize. The fox pressed against the seal, not violently, curiously, like a predator testing the bars of a new cage, so the fox said. Its voice was not a voice. It was a pressure, a vibration in the architecture of Menma's mind, a bass note that resonated in his bones. The container finally understands what a container is. Shut up, Menma said, make me. I said, shut up. Your brother told you the truth 4 years ago and you spent every day since then lying to yourself. Now the lies have run out and you are sitting in the dark feeling sorry for yourself. This is pathetic, even by human standards. You don't get to talk to me about truth. You're a chakra construct. You don't even understand truth. I understand that I am a prisoner. I understand that I was sealed inside a newborn child by a man who smiled while he did it. I understand that the father who sealed me into you told the village you were a hero for carrying me, and then turned you into a weapon for using me. I understand that the mother who held you while the seal burned into your belly spent the next 16 years braiding your sister's hair instead of looking at your scars. Minma was shaking. Your brother understood this before he could tie his own shoes. He sat in a cold room and read the truth off the walls. And when he left, he told you, because for some reason I cannot explain, he still considered you worth warning. He manipulated me. He planted a seed. Seeds do not grow in healthy soil. They grow in cracks. Minma put his face in his hands. The fox's chakra pulsed. Not aggressively, not the violent eruption of the arena. A pulse. The heartbeat of something immense and ancient and, in its own way, as trapped as the boy it was sealed inside. You want to know the difference between you and your brother? Kurama said. He was forgotten and he made himself. You were remembered and they made you. That is the gap. Not power. Not authorship. Minma sat in the dark for a long time after that. Across the village, on a rooftop overlooking the Uchiha district, empty, abandoned, a graveyard of architecture that the village maintained out of guilt and convenience, Sasuke Uchiha sat with his legs dangling over the edge and stared at the compound where his family had been murdered. He had not slept. He had not trained. He had spent the 6 days since the Chunin exams doing something he had never done before, thinking about someone other than Itachi. He was thinking about Naruto, not about his power, not about the Nagasaki or the chains or the casual, devastating dismantling of Neji Hyuga's entire belief system. He was thinking about the walk. The moment after the crater, after the speeches, after the demonstration, Naruto had turned his back on his parents, on his village, on the crowd, and he had walked away with the unhurried certainty of a man who had decided long before anyone else noticed that the people who were supposed to matter to him did not. Sasuke understood that. He understood it in the specific, marrow-deep way that only a person who had been betrayed by family could understand. Itachi had murdered the clan, every aunt, every uncle, every cousin, their parents. He had done it in a single night, and he had left Sasuke alive, and the why of that had been the engine driving Sasuke's entire existence for 8 years. But watching Naruto, watching a boy process the same fundamental wound, the wound of family failure, and instead of being consumed by it, weaponize it with such absolute clinical precision, had shifted something inside Sasuke. Not his goal, his approach. He had been waiting for years, waiting to be strong enough, waiting for the right moment, waiting for someone, Kakashi, Jiraiya, the village, the universe, to give him permission to act. Naruto had never waited for permission. Naruto had taken what he needed and built what he wanted and walked away from everything that did not serve him. And the world had not collapsed. The world had adjusted. Sasuke stood up. He looked at the Uchiha compound one last time. Then he went to find information. Not about Naruto, about Itachi, about the truth behind the massacre, about the questions he had been too obedient to ask. He did not know it yet, but the answers would break him in a different way than Minma had been broken. A cleaner way. A way that produced something harder. Somewhere far from Konoha, in a cave system that smelled of rain and rust, Itachi Uchiha received a report. He read it with the one eye that still functioned well enough to read. The other was clouding, the Manjikyu's price, the slow degradation that would eventually take everything. The report was standard Akatsuki intelligence, a summary of the Konoha Chunin exams, notable combatants, strategic assessments. But the section on Naruto Uzumaki was not standard. The section on Naruto Uzumaki was 3 pages long and ended with a recommendation that the boy be classified as a priority-level threat to Akatsuki operations. Itachi read it. He read it again. He set the report down. He looked at nothing for a very long time. A boy who had been neglected by his family, who had developed power beyond comprehension and isolation, who had left his village and found purpose elsewhere, who had returned and demonstrated that purpose with devastating, controlled precision. Itachi saw the parallel. He saw it clearly. And the thing about parallels is that they illuminate both lines, the one you are looking at and the one you are standing on. He thought about Sasuke. He thought about what Sasuke might become if given the right catalyst. He thought about whether the catalyst had already been delivered 6 days ago in the form of a crater where a stadium used to be. Itachi closed his eye. He breathed, and he felt something he had not allowed himself to feel in 8 years, which was uncertainty. In a different country, at a different table, Jiraiya the Toad Sage sat on a rooftop in a border town in Fire Country and stared at his notebook. The notebook was open. The page was blank. It had been blank for 6 days. He had been trying to write. He had been trying to rewrite the prophecy notes, the ones he had been compiling for 40 years, the ones that described the child of destiny, the one who would bring peace or destruction to the shinobi world. He had always assumed it was Menma, the Jinchuriki, the golden boy, the obvious choice. He had been wrong. Your prophecy says a child of Minato will bring peace or destruction to the world. You assumed it was Menma. You were wrong. Naruto's words, spoken with the casual certainty of someone correcting a minor arithmetic error. Not angry, not triumphant, just accurate. Jiraiya put down his pen. He picked it up. He put it down again. The problem was not that Naruto was powerful. Jiraiya had known powerful people his entire life. The problem was that Naruto was powerful and correct. The boy had looked at the prophecy and dismissed it, not because he did not believe in destiny, but because he had decided that other people's destinies were irrelevant to his own. He had opted out. He had looked at the narrative that the sage had written, and Jiraiya had spent his life trying to fulfill, and said, "No, this is not my story," and walked away. And the narrative had cracked. Jiraiya was a man of faith. Not religious faith, prophetic faith. He believed in the great Toad Sage's visions. He believed in the shape of things to come. He had structured his entire life around that belief. His training of Minato, his writing, his traveling, his searching for the child who would fulfill the prophecy. What do you do when the prophecy you've been chasing says one thing and reality says another? You sit on a rooftop and stare at a blank page and wonder if you wasted your life. Tsunade heard about it at a gambling table in Tanzaku town. She was losing, which was normal. She was drinking, which was also normal. Shizune was standing behind her, holding a pig, radiating the specific kind of long-suffering patience that comes from being the assistant of a legendary medical ninja who processes trauma through sake and slot machines. A merchant at the next table was talking, loudly. Stadium's gone, just gone. Crater the size of a lake. The Hokage's own son, the other one, the one nobody knew about, wearing a cloud headband. Tsunade stopped losing. "What did you say?" The merchant blinked. "Oh, Lady Tsunade, I didn't see." "The stadium? Tell me about the stadium." The merchant told her. He told her the version that was circulating through Fire Country civilian networks, which was, as civilian versions always are, 80% accurate and 20% mythologized. But the core facts were there. A boy named Naruto Uzumaki, a technique that produced light, a perfect crater. Tsunade listened to every word. She asked questions, specific questions, medical questions, chakra questions. Questions that the merchant could not answer because he was a merchant and not a censor-type ninja. She stood up. "Shizune, we're going to Konoha." "Lady Tsunade? But you said you'd never..." "I know what I said. We're going." Tsunade had left Konoha decades ago. She had sworn never to return. But she was a medical scientist before she was anything else. And a medical scientist who hears about a boy with no chakra network and the ability to create matter from nothing does not stay away. She cannot. Curiosity is a stronger force than grief. She was also, though she would not admit it for another 3 months, afraid. Not of Naruto, of what his existence implied about the world she thought she understood. And in Konoha, in a room with a window that looked out on a garden that had been neglected for years, Hinata Hyuga sat with her hands in her lap and tears on her face and the weight of 3 betrayals stacked on her chest like stones on a grave. She had loved Menma, genuinely. Not because she was ordered to. That came later, and the discovery that her feelings had been anticipated, commodified, and redirected by the Hokage's office was a violation so intimate that she could not think about it without her chest closing. She had loved him the way 16-year-old girls love, fully, vulnerably, with the total commitment of a heart that had not yet learned to protect itself. And she had hurt him. Not because she chose Sasuke, That was more complicated than a choice, more like a drift, a gravitational pull that she had resisted and resisted, and then one day had not resisted because Sasuke had said something real to her, something true, something that made her feel seen in a way that Minma's love, broad and warm and uncomplicated, never quite achieved. She sat by the window. She thought about Minma's face at the exam, the empty eyes, the fox erupting, the scream that was not a cry but a grief cry. She thought about Naruto, the brother she had seen once at the academy, years ago, a quiet boy with blonde hair who sat in the back and never raised his hand. She had not known he was Minma's brother. She had not known anything about him. Nobody had. Now the whole world knew. She pressed her forehead against the glass and closed her eyes and felt the cool surface against her skin and wondered if it was possible to be both a victim and a weapon in the same story. It was. Naruto was proof. Naruto left for Uzushiogakure 11 days after returning to Kumo. The Raikage objected. Not loudly. Did not object loudly. He objected with the concentrated displeasure of a thunderstorm held behind glass. He stood in his war room and stared at Naruto and said, "Alone? Alone. You are the single most valuable strategic asset in Lightning Country, and you want to walk into a ruin in enemy-adjacent territory without backup. The ruins are not in enemy territory. They are in the sea between Water Country and Fire Country, in unclaimed waters. The Uzumaki clan was neutral before they were destroyed. The ruins are unstable. The seals will recognize me. You cannot know that. I can. I do." A's jaw worked. He was not a man who tolerated insubordination, but Naruto was not insubordinate. He was autonomous. There was a difference, and it was exactly the difference Naruto had negotiated into his terms of service. And A was realizing, as he often did in moments like this, that the boy was always, invariably, irritatingly 10 steps ahead. Samui appeared in the doorway of the war room. She had not been summoned. She did not need to be. She had a sense for these conversations, the ones where the Raikage and Naruto circled each other like two forces of nature trying to occupy the same space. "He always comes back," Samui said, looked at her. Naruto looked at her. There was a moment, brief, electric, where the three of them existed in a triangle of trust and tension and something that was almost family, in the way that word meant anything to any of them. "Go," I said. "Come back with something that makes this worth my gray hairs." Naruto left the next morning. He traveled south and west, through the mountains of Lightning Country, through the border lowlands to the coast. He procured a boat, a small fishing vessel, nothing conspicuous, and crossed the strait to the island that had once been Uzushiogakure. The ruins were not what he expected. He had expected decay, rubble, the skeletal remains of a village destroyed by war. What he found was something else. The village was destroyed. Yes, the buildings were gone, the streets were gone, the walls were gone. But the seals remained, carved into the bedrock itself, into the island's geological foundation. The sealing arrays of the Uzumaki clan persisted beneath the rubble like a nervous system beneath burned skin. They were active, faintly, a hum that Naruto felt not with his ears but with his Yin-Yang Release, a resonance that started in his feet and traveled up through his bones and into the center of his chest. The seals recognized him. He felt it, a pulse, a warmth, a vibration that said you belong here in a language that predated words, the traps that should have activated, and there were hundreds of them, layered defenses that would have killed any intruder regardless of their power, because the Uzumaki did not build seals to be broken, they built seals to be permanent, lay dormant as he passed. Doors that had been sealed for 100 years opened at his touch. Barriers that had resisted everything the combined armies of 3 nations had thrown at them during the fall of Uzushio dissolved like morning frost when he pressed his palm against them. He was not breaking in. He was being let in. The vault was deep, beneath the ruins, beneath the bedrock. A chamber carved into the living rock of the island itself, so far underground that the air was still and cold and tasted of mineral silence. There were no lights. Naruto did not need lights. He created them, small orbs of pure yang energy, warm and golden, floating around like attendant stars. The chamber was circular, 30 feet in diameter. The walls were covered in seals, not the functional seals that guarded the entrance, but something else, something decorative, something beautiful, flowing patterns that were part calligraphy and part art, and part something that Naruto's conscious mind could not categorize, but his Yin-Yang Release understood on a level below thought. In the center of the chamber, on a pedestal of black stone, was the tablet. It was smaller than he expected, 2 feet by 3 feet. Stone, but not natural stone. Something created, fabricated, made. He could feel it. The yin-yang signature was embedded in the tablet's molecular structure. Someone had made this tablet from nothing, using the same power that lived inside him. He placed his hands on it. The language carved into the surface was not Japanese. It was not any language he had studied. It was the original Uzumaki script, the true writing, the one that had been lost when the village fell. He should not have been able to read it. He could read it, not with his eyes, with his Yin-Yang Release. The symbols resonated with the power inside him, and the resonance produced meaning, and the meaning assembled itself in his mind like a building rising from foundations he did not know he had laid. The tablet told a story. It told the story of the Uzumaki clan, not the version in the history books, not the seal masters, not the allies of Konoha, not the red-haired people with too much chakra and too much stubbornness. The real story, the original one. The Uzumaki were not a ninja clan. They were a priestly order, the keepers of a secret that predated the Sage of Six Paths himself. The secret was this: Yin-Yang Release was not a technique. It was not a power. It was the original state of human consciousness, the state that existed before chakra was introduced to the world through the God Tree, before the sage divided the 10 tails, before the entire framework of the shinobi world was built on top of a system that was, in the tablet's language, a corruption. Chakra was not natural. Chakra was an infection. The God Tree had introduced it to the planet like a virus, and humanity had adapted to it, evolved around it, built civilizations on top of it. But underneath the Tenketsu, underneath the chakra network, underneath the entire system, the original human operating system still existed. Yin and Yang, creation and destruction. The power to make something from nothing and unmake what existed. The Uzumaki clan had preserved this knowledge. They had maintained the bloodline. They had kept the original flame alive through centuries of chakra dominance, waiting for the vessel, the individual in whom the original operating system would reassert itself, overriding the chakra network, replacing it, awakening something that had been dormant in the human species since before the sage walked the earth. Naruto was that vessel. The tablet described a second stage, a threshold beyond what Naruto had already achieved. It called it creation of all things, not the modified version the sage had used. The sage had worked with chakra-based approximations, Yin Release and Yang Release as separate tools, powerful but diluted. The true creation of all things was something else. The ability to materialize anything from pure concept, not just objects, not just barriers, concepts, laws, rules, the fundamental parameters of reality itself. Naruto sat in the vault for 3 days. He did not eat, he did not sleep, he did not move. He sat with his hands on the tablet, and he read every word, every symbol, every layer of meaning encoded in the stone by an ancestor who had created it using the same power that now lived in his bones. When he stood up, on the morning of the 3rd day, the light in the chamber was different. Not the floating orbs, those had not changed. The light coming from Naruto had changed. It was faint, almost invisible. A glow at the edges of his skin, at the borders of his outline, as if the boundary between his body and the surrounding air had become slightly less certain. He walked out of the vault. The seal sealed behind him. The doors closed. The barriers reformed. The ruins returned to their silent, guarded state. And the only evidence that anyone had been there was the absence of dust on the tablet's surface. Naruto returned to Kumo, a different kind of dangerous, not more powerful. That distinction had ceased to be meaningful somewhere between erasing the mountain and erasing the stadium. He was not more powerful. He was more complete. The difference was like the difference between a loaded gun and a gun that knows what it's for. The mechanism was the same. The intent was refined. He did not tell the Raikage what he found. Not all of it. He told A enough. The vault existed. The information was valuable. The Uzumaki clan's historical significance had been dramatically underestimated. A filed the information. He did not press for details. He was learning. slowly, grudgingly, that Naruto shared what Naruto chose to share, and pressing produced nothing except the specific discomfort of being stared at by a boy whose eyes contained the entire history of creation and did not blink. He did, however, tell Killer B. He told B because B was a Jinchuriki, and what the tablet described had implications for the tailed beasts that B needed to understand. He told B that the Biju were created using Yin-Yang Release, which B already knew because Juki had told him. But he told B the rest, that the creation had been imperfect, that the sage's version of Yin-Yang Release was a diluted approximation, that the tailed beasts as they existed were incomplete, fragments of something larger, given form but not full consciousness, given power but not full purpose. B was quiet for a long time after that. No rhymes, no rapping. He sat on the edge of the Raikage Tower's roof and looked out at the mountains and the lightning and the endless violent sky. Juki says he knows, B said finally. Says he's always known. Says it feels like being a word in a sentence that was never finished. Naruto sat beside him, two dangerous people on a rooftop looking at a world that neither of them fully belonged to. Can you fix it? B asked. I don't know yet. But you will know. Yes. B nodded. He put his fist out. Naruto looked at it. He looked at B. He bumped it because B had taught him that, and because some gestures are more honest than words. The Akatsuki made their move 3 weeks later. It was not subtle. Subtlety was not Pain's vocabulary. The message was delivered in the form of a body, a Kumo Jonin named Takeshi, who had been on a routine border patrol in the western mountains. He was found by a passing merchant caravan, alive, technically. His body was intact. His wounds were healed, but his eyes were empty. Not blank, empty. The difference mattered. Blank is a wall, empty is a hole. Every drop of life force had been drained from his body, not his chakra, his life force. The animating principle, the yang energy that separated the living from the dead. He was breathing, his heart was beating, but there was nothing behind his eyes, nothing inside the shell. He was a body running on autopilot, a biological machine with no operator. Burned into his chest, scar tissue raised and precise, was the Akatsuki symbol, red cloud on black. The Raikage received the report in his war room. He read it. He read it again. He set it down, then he put his fist through his desk. The desk, iron-banded oak, reinforced with steel cores. The third desk A had owned since becoming Raikage because the first two had met similar fates, split down the middle. The map markers scattered. Scrolls fell. War, A said. His voice was not loud. It was worse than loud. It was the voice of a man who had stopped being angry and started being decisive. I want every team in the field recalled. I want the barrier network on maximum alert. I want the intelligence division to find whoever did this and... Wait, Naruto said. He was standing in the corner of the war room. He had been there when the report arrived. He was always there. The Raikage had stopped being surprised by this, the way you stop being surprised by gravity. Do not tell me to wait, I said. One of my people was destroyed, not killed, destroyed. There is a difference, and the difference is the message. They did not send a corpse, they sent a shell. A body drained of yang energy. That is a technique specific to the Rinnegan, the human path's ability to extract the soul, modified to extract the life force instead. This was not an attack, it was a calling card. I stared at him. The Akatsuki, Naruto continued, is led by a man named Nagato. He possesses the Rinnegan, the legendary dojutsu of the Sage of Six Paths. He operates through 6 bodies, the 6 paths of pain, each one a corpse reanimated and controlled remotely through chakra receivers implanted in their skulls. The paths are designated by function: Deva, Asura, human, animal, Preta, Naraka. Each has a specific ability derived from the Rinnegan. Together, they constitute a distributed combat system that allows a single operator to project S-rank power through 6 simultaneous vectors. The war room was silent. Pain's objective is the collection of all 9-tailed beasts. He believes that by reuniting them, he can recreate the 10 tails and use its power to cast a global genjutsu that will, in his ideology, bring peace through forced unity. He is wrong, but he is sincere, and sincerity in a man with that much power is more dangerous than cynicism. I sat down, slowly, in the broken remains of his chair. You are 16 years old, I said. Yes, and you know all this. I've been paying attention since I was 7. When you have no one to talk to, you listen very well. A was quiet for a long time. The war room hummed with the sound of the barrier network and the distant thunder of Kumo's perpetual storms. A head-on assault, A said. If I mobilize the full strength of is suicide. Pain's Deva path alone can produce gravitational forces sufficient to level a hidden village. He did it to Omegakure. The entire village, in a single day. Your military strength is considerable, but it is conventional, and Pain is not a conventional threat. He is a natural disaster with a philosophy. Then what do you suggest? Let me handle it. You, alone. I have handled everything alone since I was 7. This is not new. I looked at him. The Raikage looked at the shadow of the Raikage, and for a moment the gap between them, in age, in experience, in the accumulated weight of decades, collapsed because A recognized what he was looking at. Not a boy, not a weapon, a force that had decided to point itself at a problem, and the problem did not know it was already solved. Handle it, I said, and come back alive. I always do. Naruto left Kumo the next morning. He did not take a team. He did not take supplies. He took himself, and that was enough. But before he could find Pain, Menma found him. It happened in the mountains between Lightning Country and Fire Country. A stretch of road that wound through high passes and dense forests, where the air was cold and the trees were tall and the silence was the kind that pressed against your ears. Naruto was walking, always walking, never running, because the world adjusted to his pace, not the other way around. When he felt it, a chakra signature, familiar, damaged. The fox's energy leaking around the edges like heat from a cracked furnace. Coming from the south, moving north, moving toward him, he stopped. He sat on a rock by the side of the road. He pulled out a ration bar and ate it. He waited. Menma came around the bend 40 minutes later. He looked like he had been walking for days because he had. 4 days from Konoha to the mountains on foot, without stopping except to sleep in ditches and eat what he could forage. His clothes were dirty. His hair was matted. His eyes were ringed with shadows so dark they looked like bruises. He had lost weight. He had lost something else too. Something in his posture, in the set of his shoulders, in the way he moved. The confident golden boy ease that had defined Menma Namikaze was gone. What was left was rawer, harder, unfinished. He saw Naruto on the rock. He stopped. They looked at each other across 20 feet of mountain road. "You look terrible," Naruto said. "You look the same," Menma said. "I always look the same." "I know. It's annoying." Naruto ate his ration bar. Menma stood in the road. The wind moved through the trees. A bird sang somewhere, the kind of small, ordinary sound that only exists to remind you that the world continues regardless of what you are going through. "How did you find me?" Naruto said. "I didn't. I walked north. I figured if I walked far enough, I'd either find you or I'd find somewhere that wasn't Konoha. Both outcomes were acceptable." Naruto looked at his brother. He looked at him the way he looked at everything, completely, precisely, without the filters that most people use to soften the edges of what they see. He saw the weight loss, the exhaustion, the fracture lines in Menma's composure. He saw the fox's chakra, disturbed and agitated, pressing against a seal that was holding but under strain. He saw a boy who had been broken and was trying to reassemble himself without instructions. "Sit down," Naruto said. Menma sat on the rock. Not next to Naruto. There was space between them, a gap. The physical manifestation of a distance that was not just geographic and not just temporal, but something fundamental. The distance between two brothers who had grown up in the same house in entirely different worlds. They sat. "I read the scroll," Menma said. "Operation Crimson Thread. Dad's handwriting, Mom knew. I know. You know everything. I know most things. The rest I can calculate." "Is that supposed to be comforting?" "No, it is supposed to be accurate," Menma laughed. It was short and sharp and had no humor in it. The bark of a boy who had used up his humor somewhere on the road between Konoha and here. "Hinata and Sasuke," Menma said. "That was in the scroll too. A breeding program, Byakugan and Sharingan, complementary bloodlines." "I know. Did you know about Hinata before?" "I knew the probability was high that Minato would attempt a bloodline convergence program. The strategic incentive was obvious. He is, above all things, a man who thinks in terms of assets." Menma looked at his hands, the same hands that had channeled 5 tails of the 9 tails chakra, the same hands that had punched the 4th Hokage through 2 walls. I hit him, Minma said. Dad, when the fox, I saw. I didn't mean to. The fox was, I lost control. I was angry and the fox? You were betrayed. The fox responded to your emotional state. That is what tailed beasts do. They are emotional amplifiers. The seal is designed to contain the chakra, but it cannot contain the resonance between the host's psychology and the beast's nature. Minma looked at Naruto, really looked. The way you look at someone when you are trying to find the bottom of them and cannot. How are you so calm? Minma asked. How are you always so calm? They did the same thing to you. Worse. They did worse to you. They forgot you existed, and you sit here eating a ration bar and talking about emotional resonance like you're reading a textbook. Naruto finished the ration bar. He folded the wrapper precisely. He put it in his pocket because he did not litter because littering was inefficient. I processed my anger a long time ago, he said. I processed it the way I process everything, by understanding it, categorizing it, and deciding what to do with it. Anger is energy. I redirected it into training, into study, into the development of abilities that now make me the most dangerous person on this continent. The anger is still there. It is always there, but it is not in charge, he paused. You are still letting yours drive. I don't know how to stop. You learn. How? By deciding that what you become matters more than what was done to you. The words landed. Naruto saw them land. Saw Minma's expression shift. Saw the impact register in the tightening of his jaw and the slight widening of his eyes. It was the look of a person hearing something they needed to hear and hating it and knowing it was true simultaneously. They sat in silence for a while. The wind, the bird, the sound of the world being ordinary while two extraordinary people occupied a small, quiet space within it. There is something you need to know, Naruto said, about the seal. Minma looked at him. There is a secondary seal layered beneath the primary containment seal on the fox. Our mother placed it, without telling Minato. It is a failsafe, designed to activate when you are in mortal danger. In theory, it releases a controlled burst of the fox's chakra to save your life. In practice, the seal is unstable. It conflicts with the primary containment array at specific resonance frequencies. If the primary seal weakens through emotional distress, through overuse, through exactly the kind of uncontrolled eruption that happened at the exam, the secondary seal can activate unpredictably. It could save you. It could kill you. Minma stared at him. How do you know that? I read it in our father's private logs when I was 10. When you were, Minma stopped. He closed his eyes. He opened them. Of course you did. Of course. You were reading S-rank documents while I was learning to throw a shuriken. You throw shuriken very well. Is that a compliment? It is an observation. Minma laughed again. Different this time. Lighter. Not happy. Minma was a long way from happy, but genuine. The sound of a person discovering that something they thought was broken could still make noise. You're impossible, Minma said, frequently. And you're my brother. Genetically. Is that all? Naruto was quiet. The question sat between them on the rock, taking up space, demanding an answer that Naruto could not calculate because it was not a calculation. It was something else. Something that lived in the space between his ribs and did not have a name he trusted. I sat on your bed, Naruto said. The night I left. I could have left without speaking to anyone. It would have been cleaner, more efficient. I sat on your bed, and I told you the truth because I wanted you to know it. Not because it was strategic. Because you were 12 years old and you were sleeping in a warm room and you did not know that the warmth was conditional throughout. And I could not leave without telling you. He paused. That is not genetics. I do not know what it is, but it is not genetics. Minma's eyes were wet. He did not wipe them. He did not look away. He sat on a rock in the mountains with his brother and let the tears come because Naruto had said something that was not a calculation and that was rarer than any jutsu either of them could perform. Can I train with you? Minma asked. Naruto looked at the road ahead. He looked at the mountains. He looked at the sky, which was doing what skies do, which is being vast and indifferent and somehow in certain moments, beautiful in a way that hurts. He moved over on the rock. Minma sat closer. The gap between them narrowed. It did not close. Some gaps are permanent. Some distances are structural. the result of 12 years of cold rooms and forgotten birthdays that cannot be bridged by a single conversation on a mountain road. But it narrowed, and narrowing was enough. They sat together for a while. Then they stood up. Then they walked north, together. Pain found Naruto 11 days later, not in Kumo, in the field, on a plateau in the northern mountains, a flat expanse of rock and scrub grass that stretched for miles in every direction, exposed to the sky, exposed to the wind, exposed to everything. Naruto had chosen it deliberately. He had sent Menma ahead to Kumo with a message for the Raikage and a sealing scroll containing notes that Menma was instructed to deliver to Killer Bee if Naruto did not return within 72 hours. Menma had argued. Naruto had looked at him. Menma had stopped arguing. The 6 paths descended from the sky. 6 bodies, 6 corpses. 6 puppets on chakra strings, each one controlled by a man in a machine 100 miles away. Each one possessed of a fragment of the Rinnegan's power that made them, individually, S-rank threats and collectively, a force that had never been defeated. They landed in a semicircle around Naruto's position. 6 bodies, 12 Rinnegan eyes, 36 concentric rings spinning in unison. Naruto stood in the center. His arms were at his sides. His posture was the same as it had been against Kiba, against Neji, against the 5-tailed Menma. Relaxed, centered, a man waiting for a bus. Naruto Uzumaki. The Deva Path spoke. Its voice was flat, mechanical, the voice of a dead man being used as a telephone. But underneath the flatness was something else. Curiosity. Genuine curiosity. The curiosity of the man behind the eyes. Nato, Naruto said. Or do you prefer pain? I have never been clear on the branding. Pain is the name of what I bring and what I end. Poetic, inaccurate, but poetic. The 6 bodies tensed, not visibly. Naruto felt it in the chakra receivers, the tiny fluctuation in the signal that indicated the operator adjusting his control bandwidth. Nagato was evaluating him, reading him, trying to understand the anomaly that had erased a stadium and chained a tailed beast and walked away from both without breaking stride. You have no chakra network, the Deva Path said. The Rinnegan sees all forms of energy. You register as absence. I have something better. What? The thing your Rinnegan was copied from. The 6 bodies went still, completely still, the kind of stillness that happens when a machine pauses to recalculate. Explain, the Deva Path said. No, fight me or leave. I do not give lectures to people who send calling cards carved into my comrade's chest. That was enough. The Ashura Path moved first. Its body unfolded, panels in its arms opening, mechanical augmentations extending, weapon systems deploying with the whir and click of something that was equal parts corpse and armory. Missiles. 6 of them. Heat-seeking, chakra-guided, each one packed with enough explosive force to crater a building. They fired. Naruto walked through them. He walked forward at a normal pace. The missiles converged on his position. The first one hit him in the chest, or tried to. The moment the warhead made contact with his body, the seal of immunity activated. Gold light. The explosion converted to nothing. Not redirected. Not absorbed. Gone. The second missile hit his shoulder. Same result. The third, 4th, 5th, 6th, all of them striking him in sequence, each one detonating on contact, each detonation producing a flash of gold light and then nothing. Naruto walked through the barrage the way you walk through rain, mildly inconvenienced, not damaged. The Asura Path's arm cannon charged, a focused beam of concentrated chakra, enough to cut through a mountain. It fired. Naruto raised his left hand. A barrier seal materialized in the air. The spirit barrier, the same technique that had dissolved the tailed beast bomb. The beam hit the seal. The seal ate it. The Asura Path staggered. Its arm cannon was still connected to its internal chakra supply, and the barrier was not just blocking the beam, it was pulling, draining. The Asura Path's chakra reserves dropped. 20%, 40, 60. Naruto closed his hand. The spirit barrier collapsed into a point. The Asura Path's remaining chakra went with it. The body dropped. Lifeless. A puppet with its strings cut. 5 seconds. 1 path down. The animal path slammed its hands together. Summoning jutsu. Smoke erupted. Massive shapes formed. A giant chameleon, a multi-headed dog, a rhino the size of a house. 3 summoned creatures, each one large enough to flatten a building, each one charging toward Naruto from different angles. Naruto pressed his palm to the ground. A single seal array spread outward from his hand. thin, precise, golden lines racing across the plateau's surface like cracks in ice. The array covered 100 feet in under a second. Every summoning within the array's boundary hit a wall of fuinjutsu so dense that the reverse summoning activated instantaneously. The chameleon vanished. The dog vanished. The rhino vanished, sent back to whatever dimension they had come from with such force that the summoning contracts themselves were temporarily invalidated. The animal path tried to summon again. Nothing happened. Naruto had sealed the summoning pathway itself, not the creatures, the connection. The link between the caster and the summoning dimension was simply not there anymore. The animal path stood there with its hands pressed together and nothing happening. And if a corpse could look confused, this one did. Naruto was already moving. He crossed the distance in 2 steps, not flicker fast, not teleporting, just moving with the efficient, devastating speed of a body that had been training since it was 7 and had never wasted a single motion. Palm strike to the animal path's chest. The seal of severance activated on contact, a seal designed to cut a Jinchuriki's connection to their tailed beast. On a Rinnegan-controlled corpse, it cut the connection between the body and the operator. The animal path dropped, 7 seconds total. 2 paths down. The human path rushed him from behind. Its hand extended, the soul-ripping technique, the ability to extract a person's essence through physical contact. It grabbed Naruto's shoulder. It reached into him. It found nothing it could hold. Naruto's soul, his spiritual essence, his yin component, was not structured the way a normal human's was. It was not a discrete, extractable thing. It was woven into his Yin-Yang Release, which was woven into the fabric of reality itself. Trying to extract Naruto's soul was like trying to pull a thread from a tapestry and discovering that the thread was the tapestry. The human path's hand was still on Naruto's shoulder, still reaching, still trying to find purchase on something that did not exist in a pullable form. Naruto turned his head. He looked at the hand. Interesting sensation, he said. Mild tingling. He placed his own hand on the human path's wrist. He thought gone. The hand ceased to exist. Not the whole body, just the hand. The wrist ended in a smooth, cauterized stump, as if the hand had never been there. The human path stumbled back. Naruto followed. 1 strike to the skull. Precise, controlled, exactly enough force to sever the chakra receivers embedded in the corpse's brain. The human path dropped. 3 down. The Preta path came next. It was designed for this, designed to absorb chakra, to drain techniques, to nullify energy-based attacks. It rushed Naruto with both hands extended, creating a field of absorption around its body that would drain any chakra it touched. Naruto had no chakra. The Preta path reached him. Its absorption field made contact with his body. It tried to drain. It found Yin-Yang Release. The absorption field screamed. Not metaphorically, the energy produced a sound, a high-pitched whine that made the remaining paths flinch. The field was not designed for this. It was designed for chakra, structured, categorized, finite. Yin-Yang Release was none of those things. It was primordial. It was the source code. Trying to absorb it was like trying to drink the ocean through a straw. The Preta path's hands disintegrated. Then its forearms. Then its elbows. The Yin-Yang Release did not attack. It simply existed in a way that the absorption field could not process, and the field's attempt to contain it destroyed the conduit. Naruto watched the Preta path dissolve up to its shoulders. He tilted his head. He reached out and touched its forehead. 1 finger, light pressure. The rest of the body unmade itself, smoothly, silently, like erasing a line on a page. 4 down. The Naraka path stepped forward. It clasped its hands together and the ground behind it split open. From the fissure rose a shape, massive, horrifying, a head that dwarfed the path itself. The King of Hell, the Rinnegan's ultimate support summon, a construct that could restore the other paths, repair any damage, resurrect the defeated. The cornerstone of Pain's strategy, the reason the 6 paths were functionally immortal in combat. Kill 1, and the Naraka path brought it back. Kill 2, and the Naraka path brought them back. Kill all 5, and the Naraka path brought them all back. Kill the Naraka path first, and the system collapsed. Naruto looked at the King of Hell. It was enormous. Its mouth gaped. Its eyes, Rinnegan eyes, because everything connected to Nagato bore those eyes, stared down at him with the impersonal malice of something that existed on the border between life and death and found both sides wanting. Naruto reached into his coat. He produced a seal tag, small, rectangular, covered in calligraphy so dense it looked like a solid block of ink. He had made this seal in the mountains outside Kumo, in the workshop he maintained in a cave above the lightning line, where the air was thin enough to think clearly and the storms were constant enough to keep everyone else away. He had made this seal for exactly this. He activated it. 2 seconds. The seal flared gold, then white, then something beyond white. A color that the human eye interprets as white because it has no other category for it, but which is actually the visible spectrum of yin-yang yang. Release expressing itself as light, the seal produced a pulse. A single expanding sphere of unmade force that traveled from Naruto's hand to the King of Hell in under 1/10 of a second. The King of Hell was unmade, not killed, not destroyed, not sealed, not banished. Unmade. The concept of it, the specific arrangement of spiritual and physical energy that gave it form, that allowed it to exist as a thing in the world, was erased. The mouth closed. The eyes went dark. The shape wavered, flickered, and then there was nothing where it had been. Not empty space. Nothing. An absence so total that the eye slid off it the way water slides off glass. The Naraka path stood alone. Its purpose, to summon and maintain the King of Hell, was gone. It was a support unit with nothing to support. Naruto did not even bother with the technique. He walked up to it, placed his hand on its chest, and severed the chakra receivers with a targeted pulse of yang energy, 5 down. The Deva path remained. It stood on the far side of the plateau, alone. The wind blew its orange hair. Its Rinnegan eyes, 6 rings spinning slowly, looked at Naruto across the field of defeated bodies. Impressive, the Deva path said. Nagato's voice channeled through dead vocal cords. 5 paths, 40 seconds, no chakra expenditure, no visible strain. You are stalling, Naruto said. The 5-second interval between Shinra Tensei activations has not elapsed. You need 2 more seconds before you can use it. I know this because I have studied the Rinnegan's mechanical limitations in greater detail than you have. You have the eyes. I have the understanding. There is a difference. The Deva path's expression did not change, but the faintest crack appeared in the controlled neutrality, a flicker of something. Not fear, recognition. The recognition of being outmatched not in power but in knowledge, which for a man like Nagato was worse. The interval elapsed. Shinra Tensei. The gravitational pulse erupted, a sphere of repulsive force expanding from the Deva path in every direction, the technique that had leveled Amigakure, that had crushed armies, that manipulated the fundamental forces of gravity itself. Naruto raised both hands. Uzumaki art, spirit barrier. The barrier materialized, not in front of him, around him. A sphere, complete. The gravitational pulse hit the sphere. The sphere held. Not because it was stronger than gravity. Nothing is stronger than gravity in the conventional sense. Because the spirit barrier did not operate in the conventional sense. It operated in the yin-yang sense, which meant it existed on a level below the forces that Shinra Tensei manipulated. The pulse hit the barrier and found something it could not push, because it was not something. It was the boundary between something and nothing, and gravity does not apply to boundaries. The pulse washed past. The plateau shook. Rocks flew. Dust erupted. The ground cracked in a radiating pattern that extended for half a mile in every direction. Naruto stood in the center, untouched, inside a sphere of golden light. The Deva path pulled. Bansho Tenin, gravitational attraction, the inverse. A force designed to pull Naruto toward it, to close the distance, to bring the target within striking range. Naruto did not resist the pull. He let it take him. He flew toward the Deva path at tremendous speed, but on his terms. His body rotated in midair. His hands formed a seal. Not a jutsu seal, a fuinjutsu array, drawn in the air with yin energy, visible as lines of black light that hung in space like ink on invisible paper. He hit the Deva path at full gravitational velocity. His palm struck its chest. The fuinjutsu array transferred on contact. Chains of the underworld, modified, smaller, faster, precision targeted. Black chains erupted from the point of contact and wrapped around the Deva path's body in under a second. They constricted. The Rinnegan's chakra output dropped. The gravitational manipulation ceased. The Deva path was bound. Naruto stood nose to nose with the last path. Rinnegan eyes stared into blue eyes. Nagato stared through his puppet at the boy who had just dismantled his entire combat system in under a minute. "Come yourself," Naruto said. Quiet. Not angry. Not triumphant. Flat, the way a statement of fact is flat. "I am insulted by this." He raised his right hand. Yang energy compressed, white, burning, a star forming in his palm. He aimed it at the sky, not at the Deva path. At the sky, he released it. A column of white light erupted from his hand and punched through the clouds. Vertical, blinding, visible for 50 miles in every direction. A signal flare that was also a demonstration and also a threat, and also, in its own way, an invitation. "Come and see what I am, if you dare." The light faded, the column collapsed. The clouds above the plateau had a hole in them, perfectly circular, the edges cauterized by heat that was not heat. The Deva path hung in its chains. The Rinnegan eyes flickered, the signal weakening, the operator pulling back. "You are not what I expected," the Deva path said. Quiet now, almost respectful, almost. "Nobody expects what I am," Naruto said. "That is the point." The Rinnegan went dark. The Deva path slumped. The chakra receivers powered down. 6 bodies lay on the plateau, 6 defeated paths, dismantled the efficiency of a surgeon removing tumors. Naruto stood among them, alone, untouched. The wind blew, the dust settled. He knew Nagato would not come, not today. The display had served its purpose, not to kill pain, but to demonstrate conclusively and irrevocably that the conventional approach would not work, that the Akatsuki's most powerful weapon had been neutralized in 53 seconds, that the calculus had changed somewhere in a hidden location. Behind a machine that kept his broken body alive, Nagato sat in the dark and reconsidered the shape of his plan. Not abandoned it. Nagato did not abandon plans, but reconsidered. The variables had shifted. The equation had changed. A new factor had been introduced, and the new factor was a boy who could unmake the King of Hell and walk through Shinra Tensei and look at the Rinnegan like it was a toy. The Akatsuki would adapt. They always adapted, but they would adapt around Naruto now, not through him. He had made himself the obstacle, the immovable object, the thing the unstoppable force had to account for. 10 steps ahead, he always was. In the weeks that followed, the world did what worlds do. It processed, it reacted, it realigned. The crater in Konoha was filled. It took 300 workers in 2 weeks and enough earth to build a small hill. The stadium was rebuilt, larger, reinforced as if bigger walls could have contained what had happened within them. But the scar remained. Not the physical one. Physical scars could be covered, rebuilt, paved over. The psychological one. The one that lived in the memory of 20,000 people who had watched a boy with a Kumo headband and blue eyes and blonde hair drop a miniature sun on the heart of the Leaf Village and walk away. They called it the Uzumaki Basin in whispers. Never in front of the Hokage, never in official reports, but in the bars, in the training grounds, in the quiet conversations between jonin who had seen it with their own eyes and still could not quite reconcile what they had witnessed with the world they thought they lived in. They called it the basin, and they meant it as a name for something larger than a hole in the ground. Minato stood at the edge of it on a quiet morning, 2 months after the exams. The reconstruction crews had not started yet. This was before the filling, before the rebuilding. The crater was still raw, a wound in the earth, 200 meters wide, 30 meters deep, smooth as glass. He stood there alone. The Hokage hat was in his office. The robes were in his closet. He was wearing civilian clothes, a simple jacket, pants, sandals. He looked like any other man standing at the edge of a hole trying to understand what made it. He was trying to understand what he made. Not the fourth Hokage, not the Yellow Flash, not the man who sealed the Nine Tails or invented the Flying Thunder God or won the Third War. The man who had 3 children and loved 2 of them and did not notice the third and was now standing in the crater that the third had carved out of his life as a receipt for the neglect. Minato was a genius. Everyone said so. The fastest ninja alive. The most brilliant tactician of his generation. A prodigy among prodigies. He had not noticed his son, the genius, the prodigy. The man who could track a kunai in flight and analyze a jutsu mid-formation and calculate the trajectory of a battle across 17 simultaneous variables. He had not noticed a boy eating alone, a room with a broken window, a birthday that was also a festival, that was also a celebration of the son who mattered, and the empty rooftop 3 blocks away where the son who did not sat with a rice ball and no candles. Neglect is not neutral. Naruto's words, spoken in the crater, in front of 20,000 witnesses. It does not produce nothing. It produces the exact, specific, terrifying precision of a son who learned everything on his own and chose to point it outward. Minato looked at the crater. He looked at the thing his nothing had produced. He cried. Not in the Hokage's office. Not in front of the council. Not where anyone could see the yellow flash weep. Here, alone at 6 in the morning, standing in civilian clothes at the edge of a hole that used to be a stadium. He cried the way men who have held everything together for too long eventually cry, silently, helplessly, with the whole body. He cried for the boy he did not see, for the room he did not fix, for the birthday he did not remember, for the hospital card. The card. He had sent a card to a child who nearly died because his chakra system collapsed, and he had not gone himself because Menma had training, and Mito had a school event, and there were meetings and briefings in the 10,000 small urgencies that compose the life of a Hokage, and none of those urgencies were named Naruto. He cried until the sun was fully up and the construction crews would be arriving soon, and then he wiped his face and put himself back together the way he always did, piece by piece, mask by mask, until the man inside was invisible and the Hokage outside was presentable. He walked back to the compound. Kushina was in the garden. She was planting something. She had been planting things for weeks, flowers, herbs, a small tree. She did not explain why. She did not need to. Minato understood. She was putting roots in the ground because her roots had been torn up. She looked up when he passed. Her eyes were red. They were always red now. They did not speak. Some damage is too deep for words. Some conversations cannot be had because the vocabulary for them has not been invented. What do you say to the wife you stood next to while your son starved in silence? What do you say to the husband who signed mission orders that reduced people to breeding programs? What do you say to each other when the house you built is standing and the family inside it is rubble? You plant things. You stand at the edge of craters. You cry alone. Mito asked where Menma was. Nobody answered. In Kumogakure, the shadow of the Raikage returned from the plateau with 6 Akatsuki cloaks and a detailed tactical report on the Renegade's combat applications that A read 3 times and then locked in the vault with the other 30 documents that were too important to exist. The promotion was formalized without fanfare, no ceremony, no announcement. Assigned the document. Killer B witnessed it. B cried, which he denied. B also rapped about it, which he did not deny because B did not deny rapping about anything ever under any circumstances. Yo, my student just became the shadow, living in the dark, but his lights got no shadow. Wait, that doesn't. Ah, yeah, the shadow of the Raikage, biggest stage. He's turning every page, unlocking every cage. Yeah, he's B. Yank you. B stopped. He looked at Naruto. His sunglasses were crooked. His grin was huge. His eyes were wet. Anytime, kid. Anytime. That night, Naruto stood on the roof of the Raikage Tower. Samui stood beside him. The mountains rose around them, massive, dark, wreathed in lightning storms that never fully stopped. The air was thin and cold and electric. The village sprawled below, its lights flickering in the perpetual wind. 7 things, Samui said. What? You said 7 things are in motion. After the exams, you listed them, 7 things you set in motion. Naruto looked at her. She looked back. Her expression was cool, as always, the composure of a woman who had been trained to suppress and who suppressed with the discipline of a master. But her eyes were not cool. Her eyes were asking something. The Akatsuki's calculus has been disrupted, Naruto said. That is 1. Konoha's political stability has been compromised by the public exposure of the Hyuga clan's vulnerabilities and the Hokage's personal failures. That is 2. Suna's leadership vacuum following the Kazekage's assassination creates an opportunity for alliance. 3. Orochimaru's research into Zushio aligns with my own interests and can be leveraged without ceding control. 4. Menma's psychological reconstruction will produce either a powerful ally or a broken weapon, and I intend to ensure the former. 5. The stone tablet's information regarding the creation of all things opens tactical possibilities that did not previously exist. 6, he paused. And 7, he was quiet. Samui waited. She was good at waiting. She had waited 4 years, not for him, not in the romantic sense, but alongside him, which was different and harder and more honest. 7 is personal, he said. You don't do personal. I am learning. She looked at him. The wind moved her hair, blonde, straight, the color of winter sunlight. The lightning storms illuminated her face in flashes. There, gone, and in each flash Naruto saw something he had not trained himself to see and could not categorize and did not want to unmake. Are you happy? She asked. The question hung in the air the way questions do when they matter. Heavy, patient, refusing to dissipate. Naruto looked at the mountains. He looked at the lightning. He looked at the village that had taken him in and given him recognition if not love, and let him become what he was always going to become. I am precisely where I intended to be, he said. That is not what I asked. He looked at her. 12 steps of thought. 13. 14. He said something. And here is where the narrator steps back. Because some things are not for the audience. Some words exist only in the space between two people standing on a rooftop in a storm, and writing them down would reduce them to ink, and they deserve better than ink. They deserve the silence they were spoken into. They deserve the lightning that illuminated them, and the wind that carried them away, and the two people who heard them, and no one else. Some things are private, even in a story that has exposed everything. So let me tell you what Naruto Uzumaki was. He was a boy who ate alone. That is where it started. A cold room, a broken window, a rice ball on a rooftop while the village celebrated below, and nobody looked up. He was a boy who was not hated or abused or cursed, who was simply not seen, which is the quietest and most devastating form of violence a family can commit. He became a weapon. Let us not soften that. He became a weapon because weapons are what the world makes out of children it forgets to love. He sharpened himself in silence. He read by candlelight. He trained in the dark. He discovered the most powerful force in the known universe living inside his body, and his first instinct, his first immediate 7-year-old instinct, was to tell no one, because he had already learned at 7 that the people who were supposed to protect him would use him instead. That is not wisdom. That is damage. Wisdom that grows from damage is still damage, and calling it strength does not make it hurt less. He left home. He walked through a wall and sealed it behind him and did not look back, because looking back requires believing there is something worth seeing, and there was not. He went to the one place that would hurt his parents the most, because even weapons have feelings, and his feelings were expressed in the language of precision and maximum impact. He became great, genuinely, not in the way the word is usually used, not famous, not celebrated, not adored, great in the original sense. Large, immovable, a fact that the world could not ignore or explain away or absorb into its existing narratives. He rewrote barrier networks and erased mountains and chain-tailed beasts and walked through fire without blinking, and he did all of it wearing someone else's headband, because his own village never gave him one. He was cruel. Let us not soften that either. He planted a seed in his brother's mind that grew into a forest fire. He exposed a clan's secrets on an international stage for the purpose of humiliation. He stood over his weeping mother and told her that nothing was worse than cruelty, and he was right, and being right did not make it kind. He used people. He calculated outcomes. He moved through the world like a chess player who had memorized every possible game and found all of them boring. But he was also, and this is the part that makes the story bearable, a boy who went back to the ramen shop, a boy who paid for Orochimaru's noodles, a boy who sat on his brother's bed at midnight to deliver a truth that would hurt because lies would hurt more, a boy who moved over on a rock, a boy who said something on a rooftop that the narrator will not repeat. He was what they made him, and he was what he made himself. And the distance between those two things is the entire story. The world heard his name at the Chunin exams. It heard it again when the 6 paths of pain fell in 53 seconds on a plateau in the mountains. It would hear it again and again and again, because the world does not stop turning because one person's story reaches its resting point. There would be more. More fights, more politics, more moments of devastation and precision and cold, calculated brilliance. The Akatsuki would regroup. Konoha would rebuild. Menma would train on a mountainside with a brother who did not know how to love but was learning slowly, the way a man learns a language he was never taught. One word at a time, mispronounced, imperfect, but trying. Samui would stand beside him. B would rap about him. The Raikage would point him at problems and he would solve them, and the world would adjust, because the world always adjusts to things it cannot move. But that is the future. And the future, as Naruto once told a shonen on an international stage, is not a prophecy written by someone else. It is a choice, and Naruto Uzumaki chose. He chose to walk north. He chose to build himself. He chose to burn what needed burning and protect what deserved protecting, and stand in the exact center of every storm that came for him and dare it to be enough. He chose to never look back. He never did. And the last image, the one that stays, the one that burns itself into the back of your eyelids, the way light burns itself into the dark, is not the crater. It is not the chains. It is not the Nagasaki or the spirit barrier or the unmade king of hell. It is simpler than that. It is a boy on a rooftop, 7 years old, eating a rice ball he made himself, watching a festival celebrate a brother he will never be, on a birthday no one remembers, and the boy does not cry, and the boy does not scream, and the boy finishes his rice ball and wipes his hands on his pants and looks up at the sky, and the sky is full of fireworks, and the fireworks are for someone else, and the boy watches them anyway. And somewhere inside him, in the space between his ribs, in the place where other children keep their sense of being loved, something ignites. Not fire, not rage, not grief, light. The light of a boy deciding quietly on a rooftop with rice on his fingers and no one watching that he will become something the world cannot ignore, and he did. And the fireworks kept going and nobody looked up, but they would.
A boy who ate alone on his own birthday, who trained at midnight in tunnels nobody knew existed, who built himself into something the shinobi world had no word for, and then walked back home just to show them what forgetting costs. That's not a what if, that's a warning. Subscribe, you already know.